Hello, everyone. Whoa. There we go. Sorry, I had to get my mic back in. I forgot one step. I didn't forget. I didn't forget. I just that was the last thing I had to do, so I just hit live. But anyways, um excuse me. Glad everyone is here. Hold on. Is Hold on. I'm just checking very quickly the YouTube. Oh, I'm seeing things. Everyone looks to be good. Yep. Awesome. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. I never say that. But yeah. Hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. I'm gonna give it just 2 seconds so I can move my ass again. And I swear if I need to fix Kick because in about 2 minutes there's gonna be someone who's gonna write in Kick's message, and it's going to be, "Hey, Theology Matters. You should go to this one site and get this botted program so everyone will watch your stuff because you're on the top." Which is going to be funny because it'll happen in probably like 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's not there. Okay. Anyways, oh, good grief, my mustache. It's been weird. Anyways, it's all right. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the stream. I am Theology Matters. You can call me Eli. And for my people in District 6, I am the Anomaly. So we have an interesting, a different tactic this week. I was intending to do statewide about abortion. And especially with the flack, if you follow me on Twitter, which you should totally do, I kind of was giving some flack to Lila Rose. So I kind of want to see if Lila is actually worth her 375,000. But that will be next week. I had some plans today that were going to happen, and then they moved, and now they're in problems for next week. It's been a thing. But I didn't know that I assumed that I was going to have, well, I just put it off because I needed to do the thing on Thursday. In actuality, then it got canceled, but by the time it was canceled, it was Monday. So the chances of me finishing 50 states was going to be very, very time consuming and not in a great way. So, um, but yeah, we're here with something a little different. I intended to just do a video about this myself. Um, I went to a Crescio weekend last weekend, so I didn't have time to really work on things, and so I needed something to or I was intending to make this just a video and upload it, but then everything happened with that. I wouldn't have anything for tonight, so I just decided to make the video tonight. Because this isn't going to take too much. I've thought of things beforehand, so it's at this point just regurgitation in a way. But especially with what happened before I went to Crucio, I meant to kind of make a brief 15-minute thing, but I get to do big thing now. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about the death penalty tonight. Um, yeah, that's essentially it. Death penalty, and then I do have something from the 1 Peter 5 people. I meant to do it. Gosh, was it with Blackburn? But I kind of had Twitch chat be a bit sus isn't the right word, but we're gonna go with it. So I needed to fix with that. So we didn't deal with that. I will deal with it tonight. You just keep it in line with the theology and other stuff. But yeah, other than that, we are going to be going on. So yeah, we're just gonna be trucking on. I've got about 4-ish points, and then I don't even know if there's really anything else to that. This tonight might be simply just an hour and a half. There's not much for me to really discuss too much. I kind of slacked. I wouldn't say slacked off, but I didn't look at some things, and then it takes my brain a little bit to think of some stuff, but usually when I discuss this, there's only like one tact, and I don't think people are going to be able to argue with it necessarily. So, and that's going to take a big chunk. Like it's 1 point, but it's a pretty big chunk. There's no closer tonight. I'm essentially just going to try and say why we shouldn't have the death penalty. So that really is just it. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna get started. It's been about 5 minutes, so people can queue in. Um, but yeah, other than that, I'm sorry I'm late again. I had to quickly get some fluids for tonight. But yeah, so a little maintenance, I guess, before I start. Sorry. Sorry, I'm like, let's click play, and then I played an ad. Uh, so tomorrow we'll be starting the story game with Shadow of Mordor. So we'll play that 36 hours. So that'll be 6 hour streams. Tomorrow will be its first one, and then instead of Friday, and that's usually a Friday. Story games are usually on Friday. I'm gonna have to move next week's Fridays to Tuesday because the thing that was supposed to happen this Thursday is actually now on Friday of next week. Yeah, as I said, it's very convoluted. So Tuesday next week, it will be Monday. I don't know if it'll be Magic or Destiny, maybe Rivals. I TBD. But Monday will be, I assume, gaming. Or let me put it this way, because I move these tiles around. I have like there's a gaming session, there's a politics, there's the story game, and then there's kind of a like it's gaming unless I plan something, and there's one like call out I want to do to see if they'll do it. But we'll see. Anyways, so everything kind of moves around. But it's all Monday. Usually my streaming schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 p.m. Central. Click up that, hit the whole things, typical YouTuber stuff. Hit the follow, likes, the shebang. Throw me one of these. If you're gonna throw me a this, at least tell me why in a comment. Good grief. Excuse me. Sorry. But next week it will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I'll be off Friday. So Friday is just moved over to Tuesday. But then I'll be back regular queuing. But yeah, I think that's it. I talked about Shadow of Mordor. Next week we'll do the statewide about abortion. So that'll be Thursday. I can guarantee that. I don't know about the gaming just yet on the Monday and Wednesday, or what Monday and Wednesday will hold, but I will be streaming that day at the very least. So if you want to queue in, queue in. And then Tuesday will be the Shadow of Mordor day 2. So yeah, other than that, I think that's it. I got through the stream schedule. I asked you to do typical YouTuber stuff. I think we're good. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, we are great to start. But yeah, thank you all for queuing in, at least right now. We will get started then. So I need to show the start of the story. So, Pope Leo made some comments that immediately got flack on Twitter from a lot of traditional Catholics, which, to be fair, I don't think were justified. Because I agreed with him. I saw no problem with what he was saying, and ironically, I'm gonna get into some of this tonight, but ironically, before I was even Catholic, I believed that it wasn't good. And then when I became Catholic, I just had a better reasons. So yeah, but I'm gonna show briefly the video that got on Twitter. So here is the video. You swap. Okay, so this is Pope Leo. We all with the duh, right? Duh. So this is Pope Leo. So he made this topic. Now, I also think it is kind of ironic that I think it blew up because of one of the guys that was anti Pope Francis. So there. Okay, before I do that, I have a disclaimer, but I got to do a secondary disclaimer. So the primary disclaimer is that I am not a Pope splainer, but I am not a rad trad either. I'm a papacy protector. And the difference between that and a Pope splainer is the fact that I can admit that the Pope is wrong. I don't have this, unhealthy attachment to believe that, it's like, oh, you did the right thing and stuff. No, I'll diss when I need to, when I can properly diss. Let me say that. So, yeah, and I'm not being paid by, Leo or anything of that ilk. But yeah, that I just want to start that out because here's I do agree that there is a market for the trads to go after Pope Francis and to like, or at least when Pope Francis was here, when they were like driving the audience towards the like anger towards Francis. Yeah, it was a market that was exploited for monetary gains, and sadly, it came from Catholics, which I think is just the worst part of that. Because like I understand the media and some of the Protestants, but when it came from our own brethren, I was just a little saddened at that. Not surprised, but just saddened. But anyways, I'll let him speak. He kind of briefly only does it for like 10 seconds, but I'm gonna play the whole clip just for reasons.
Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. So they're very complex issues. I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that there be greater respect for one another and that we search together both as human beings, in that case as American citizens or citizens of the state of Illinois, as well as Catholics, to say we need to really look closely at all of these ethical issues and to find the way forward as church. The church teaching on each one of those issues is very clear.
Okay, so oops, I need to delete it over here. So yeah. So again, he briefly, we were only given about 50 seconds. That was all that I think a lot of people saw, and that enraged traditional or trad Catholic Twitter. Now, I don't deny what he said. I think the first sentence is he's right. Excuse me. Which will semi go into. I think I need to write that as a fifth comment, but because I wrote 4 because I remembered, but I remember stuff just off the hand. But um, yeah, so this got Catholic Twitter a bit riled up right before I went to Cruzeiro, so I pretty much lost. I couldn't access my phone during the retreat, so I wasn't doing this. But of course, there were a lot of the moderate people and then the tri Catholics who always pop out their same excuses. So I mean I got one of them listed, and I keep I have that there, and I also kind of have a little bit of a what you're gonna do now type thing with that. I have so 4 reasons what we're gonna go through. We're gonna go through one, the best what I consider the best theological reason to be against the death penalty. The second, we're gonna talk about Saint Augustine briefly, and why if we're gonna bring up if we're gonna do well, I'll mention it when we get to there. The one too many, and a cost analysis. So those will be the 4. And then I thought of a 5th while I was talking. So there's a fair chance I say these 4. There's a fair chance I'm going to be talking about more while I'm in these, just because light bulb activates. So, but anyways, I'd like to start with first the official disclaimer that I meant to do, which was I'm not advocating. Now, mind you, I say I'm against the death penalty. I'm not saying that justice should not be done and that somehow the criminal needs to be let go or freed. Like if death penalty, if it's that bad that he gets the death penalty, then it's probably life in prison without parole. That's what, as a guy going into office who does want to get rid of the death penalty in Oklahoma, That's what I would do. I just convert everyone's sentences to be that. Now, that's what I'm saying because I highly suspect there will be some people who attempt to say, well, oh, he just wants them back on the streets. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that justice will be done in accordance to with what it is, right? So there is no so don't get it twisted that it's like I'm not hoping for the justice to be done, but I am saying that there is justice and then there is a vengeance. So, and after so that is disclaimer, but I'd like to start with a reading from the catechism, from the great catechism. And I pull this out and I'm gonna be mocked for it because people are gonna yell at me and say, why don't you have the Baltimore one? But anyways, I want to read the 2266 and 2267, which is directly associated to the death penalty. Because if you check this index, it goes to death penalty, C punishment, and then there's like 2 for punishment or 3. But 22, I felt like 2266 and 2267 were very relevant. So I'm gonna read about a page. And yeah, just so we can, because the official church teaching somewhat. So anyways, let me go through with it. So 2266. The efforts of the state to curb the spread of behavior harmful to people's rights and to the basic rules of civil society correspond to the requirement of safeguarding the common good. Legitimate public authority has the right and the duty to inflict punishment proportionate to the gravity of the offense. Punishment has the primary aim of redressing the disorder introduced by the offense. When it is willingly accepted by the guilty party, it assumes the value of expedition. Punishment, then, in addition to defending public order and protecting people's safety, has a blah. Gosh, why is this so lawyery? Has a medicinal purpose. As far as possible, it must contribute to the correction of the guilty party. Assuming that the guilty party, 2267, sorry. Assuming that the guilty party's identity and the responsibility has been fully determined, the traditional teaching of the church does not exclude recourse to the death penalty. If this is the only way of effectively defending human lives against the unjust aggressor. If, however, non lethal means are sufficient to defend and protect people's safety from the aggressor, authority will limit itself to such measures, as these are more in keeping with the concrete conditions of the common good and more in conformity with the dignity of the human person. Today, in fact, as a consequence of the possibilities which the state has for effectively preventing crime by rendering one who has committed an offense incapable of doing harm without definitively taking away from him the possibility of redeeming himself, the cases in which the execution of the offender is an absolute necessity are very rare, if not practically non-existent. So, anyways, so that is the catechism. Now, when I read it, from what I was gathering, because I was aware that the Catechism of the Church, or I think I was reading Counterfeit Christs by Trent Horn, and I believed it was a prudential decision. You don't have to believe one way or the other. That is why you have the two Catholics going at it. You can believe in the death penalty. However, there's kind of the practicality of it because there's kind of no reason for it anymore. Back when, jails were like in Pirates of the Caribbean, which it was just, a stone door. Or not a stone door, like a steel cage. Yeah, of course people are going to get out. But we have today, like, runaways are rare. When it does happen, it makes news, right? Like, it's rarely going to happen. So we have the means to keep, excuse me, criminals within contained. We don't have, they're not like the Joker and breaking out every like 20 minutes, which is ironically what I said to some people, because it's like, yeah, there's one thing about the Joker who literally breaks out of Arkham Asylum every 20 minutes and kills about, 1,000 people. And then there's, Jim, who killed 20 people, and then that's all he is because he's, getting butt fucked in the shower. Um, which is also a problem, which is a whole different problem that I'm not going to discuss tonight, but I don't like that either. Just as an aside, but so yeah, that is the catechism. Now, because it is a prudential decision, Catholics can believe in the death penalty. Technically, I do believe in the death penalty, but it is like so rare that it's practically zero, which is practically what the catechism at the end of 2267 said, right? It's very rare for it to happen. Even more, having the death penalty is even more rare. Like we'll go into it with 4. I got the stats for number 4, and I just was like, we're arguing over nothing. And the people who try to like add stuff are just trying to like shotgun method. They're trying to like hope that something sticks, but it's like I have enough to say your arguments are folly. So I tried to answer this though, because like I have a great theological reason. I've got a great counter to Saint Augustine. Um, and then I also, which while not even reading Saint Augustine is what he was talking about. Um, and then of course just the efficiency of this. So, anyways, let's get into it. So the best theological reason I really wanted to do it second so I could keep everyone here, but I kind of have to do it because I'm going to talk about it with number 2, and I'm going to talk about it in 3 and 4. So, best theological reason. So, I'm going to give an example because I feel like the example study is the best way to go around this. So if we believe that this individual, let's say he's mass murderer, right? So he went and he did, a terrorist act or something. And he's killed about 30 people or so. Worthy enough of the death penalty, right? Now, murder is a mortal sin. That's very apparent. That should be. It should be a mortal. I'm not. The catechism is staring at me like the Green Goblin mask, but murder is usually always considered a mortal sin. Thus, mortal sin breaks you away from the church, thus breaking your relationship with God, right? Meaning that you're more than likely, if you died after committing 30 murderous acts, you'd probably go where? And to most people, they'd say hell. Right? Making sense so far? Right? Okay, so now he's in prison, right? Let's say we get him. He's alive. He survives. He's in prison. What difference would the prison make? Well, it give him time for one. Sorry, I moved it and I don't like it where it is. He's given time to rethink of his actions, to hopefully turn away from what he did, to apologize for it, to change his life around, after the evil act. Now, is there going to be a potential that he's just going to, spend, let's say, 50-ish years, 60 years, just staring at a blank wall in prison and no recourse of either shame or forgiveness, repentance? Sure, right? Like there's going to be those people, and there will be those people. I'm not denying that. But what I am not going to accept is that we do not give the time to those that do want to repent and thus have a chance of eternal life, right? Because what essentially a lot of people will boil down this is, do you actually do you actually believe in the Great Commission, right? Great Commission, bring everyone to Christ, bring everyone to the church, right? Bring everyone to heaven, right? That's the Great Commission. Now, I say that in bringing everyone to the Great Commission, and most people, they'll go, yeah, we believe that, right? So But I want to ask the question because I say this theologically, right? And I think some of the trads, or I say trads, not necessarily ironically, but just because the trads were a little bit more reactionary with it, if that makes any sense. I have a question that I don't think that can answer in honesty, because it's going to be an introflective question, and I don't think they're going to be able to answer it, or at least answer it how they should as a Catholic, because it's going to take time. And I'm denying. I'm from Oklahoma. This is evangelical Baptist stronghold. I come from a high conservative area where if you mentioned that there were certain crimes you did, you probably were, if it was bad, most people would be like, "Oh, I hope he's killed," and that type of jargon. But the question that I have to ask those type of people is, can you say, can we truly say we love our neighbor? Can we truly love our neighbor if we're sending them to hell? Can we truly love our neighbor if we refuse to give them an opportunity to return to God, and not in a "I'm going to send you to God" and then a bullet in their head, right? Can we say we truly love? And I'm going to say this question is hard. And that's kind of, I think, the point. I think in a lot of this death penalty discussion, it really goes on to you, not to the evil guys, right? The murderers all have their problem. They're murderers. They like they like messing with children. They like doing evil acts. But the thing is in the face of those evil acts, what do you become? Are you wanting vengeance, or do you truly try to love the one who has done unspeakable crimes? Which, again, even though I disagree, or I agree with the death penalty, I'm not denying that they have done horrible crimes. But I'm not, just because they've done horrible deeds does not make them worthy of death. So, when I ask that question, can we truly love? And it's ironic, because this week I had a bit of a how do I put that? I kind of had a reason to offload this again beforehand on Tuesday. And it was ironic because there was a story with because we were talking about Jesus at the time. We were talking about Jesus. This is a group setting. We were talking about Jesus, and we were watching this video. And during the course of this video, they bring up the woman caught in adultery. And we had a question later in the discussion, and it was, is there a teaching from Jesus that is hard for you to accept? And I brought up, because I was leading the discussion, I brought up the one thing that I think Americans, especially because of this, is a death penalty, because we truly don't love our neighbor. Because how is the woman caught in adultery any different than practically any scenario? Crap, was it? I really want to pull out my Bible, but I kind of forgot what gospel it's in. And I know I could look it up briefly, but I'm not doing that. But anyways, let me just paraphrase, because I'd rather do that. So for those of you who don't know what the woman caught in adultery is, a bunch of Pharisees or people, they threw this woman in front of Jesus, right? Threw her in front of him and said, according to the law of Moses, we should stone her, right? Because she's an adulterer. And Jesus, stops and he, starts filling in the mud and then says, "Whoever is without sin, throw the first stone." Now, she walks away, or all of them walk away eventually. They let their rigidity um, fall, and later it's just Jesus and the woman caught in adultery. Which ironically, someone was like, "I didn't hear her name," and I had to then say, "She doesn't have a name. Her name is just woman caught in adultery," which I thought was kind of funny. Because then I had to be like, it's also like the woman at the well. It is just literally that. But she was caught in adultery, and it's ironic because according to Jewish law, she should be stoned. She should be killed, and yet she's not. She's alive. She's able to repent, which she did, and sin no more, right? A typical story of confession, right? Usually when the woman caught in adultery is brought up, it's usually tied in a little bit with confession. Um, and so I thought that was really funny, just that this week that happened, and then I was gonna talk about this, and it was so ironic because of that. And like I just again I'd like to ask the question, can we say we truly love? Because one of the things that I brought up was it's interesting that, especially maybe on Twitter and everywhere else, if there is a homosexual, they will love the homo by telling him, like, let's say someone like Dave Rubin, right? They will tell Dave, quit sucking another man's piece, right? And it's ironic because they will love that and love the homo and hope that he does a Milo and quits. But then there is the uh, mass murder, the peddler of children, uh, or what word am I thinking of? Tiddler of children. And so I have to ask, why is it that we can love the homosexual, but we can't love the other? And I think part of that, and mind you, love. Hold on, I say love, a love. A lot of people are going to have a problem with love. Because love, there's mushy gushy love, and then there's love with its actual definition. And love is being defined as wishing the betterment of the other. You love your wife, so you do things for her. You love your children, so you do not hand them the scorching hot pan of water, even though they're at your feet, wanting to know what's in the pot. You don't just pour it on them, right? You because it's child abuse, one. But there is a opportunity to your love. Just as the Father loves, He does not give everything we ask. He is not a genie to rub and hopefully we get what we want, or we pay, you know, a subscription to earn, one prayer answered every week. But it's interesting that we want to say that we love, right? Especially like Catholics, they'll try to, especially trad Catholics, they'll say that we love, but for some reason there's a modifier to that love. That love. Oh, I was wondering what's touching. Somehow our love is conditionary. And I could go into, maybe it's like, well, they don't love the papacy or something. Like, we could go into that, but I'm not. Because I just thought about it 10 seconds ago and I don't want to get into it. But good grief. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, love. So it's just, again, it's the follow through of the logic, right? And even before I got versed in the theology of the Catechism of the Church, it's basic theology. It's just basic. It's not even basic Catholic theology. It's just Christian theology. We all know that there is certain sins that are worthy of like damnation, right? We just know. Sorry, my phone bleeped. We just know that, like, even Christians, even Protestants, do admit that there are some crimes that are worse than others, because usually there's some type of scandal in the church, and the one save only save, which I'm gonna Theo Broby really wants to get into it, but he's not. He's being restrained. But even the Protestants understand this too. This is not, like I said, this isn't Catholic theology. This is just Christian theology. And this isn't even advanced Christian theology. This is the basic theology of just, you do bad thing against 10 commandments, you are out. You are not as Christian as you think you are. And thus you will not have eternal life. So I just, I think that's ironic. That you hear it a lot from the Protestants too, like a lot, especially because I live in the South. I know that it's a little bit more common. For crying out loud, I think there's a map that I'll show 3 sections from now. I can just show it now. I'll just show it out. Let me hit it up. Okay, here we are. So this is a map. I'll let it take big. So this is a map of the thing. Ironically, it's mostly centered in the South, right? I come from the South. I stated that before we began. So I'm not being shown. Hello. Hello, thank you. No, frick. Why are you doing this to me? Can I okay, there we are. I don't know why that was so difficult, but okay. But yeah, so I think I think I covered the best theological reasons though, or the best theological reason, which is just the follow through of the theology. And again, I think if anyone is disagreeing with me who doesn't agree with the death penalty, I think the question of, do you really love, or is it conditional, is a question that I think, one, we all need to ask every day. But I think people who are definitely disagreeing with me, I think they need to ask that question to themselves. Because if I ask you, do you truly love, and you try to put some modifiers on that, I can't think of a modifier that doesn't immediately just check off it's a no. You could say yes, but, and that may be enough. Because we are called to love and bring everyone into the fullness of the faith and of God, which, good grief, which, and bring and get them all to heaven. It's a great commission. And if for some reason the worst people imaginable aren't worthy of heaven, then you know I gotta say, what that is creating such a rigid scale for us. And I'm not saying that we need to go like, God is so forgiving. Like, he is forgiving. He's very forgiving. I almost went into heresy. He's very forgiving, but I feel like we put a lot of humanity into God in a way. If that I I don't think I'm explaining that well, but I feel like I feel like some opponents will say, yeah, but he won't accept that, or it won't be a true conversion, or something of that. Um, but it's just, and it's just, I feel like we're adding a humanity to God in a way that or attributing a humanity to, or a values to God that he doesn't have. Um, and the first thing I like to say is, I talked about the woman caught in adultery, right? And it's like, this wouldn't be the first time that Jesus kind of overridden policy. Like, divorce is not a thing, especially for the Catholics who believe that divorce is no longer a thing. Why? Because Jesus overridden it in the Bible. Literally, it was, he allowed you to have it, but no longer. So yeah. So I think that's the first one. If anyone has anything they'd like to attribute or try and challenge me, feel free to do that. But again, I asked the question: can we say we truly love? Um. So yeah. I thought there was more to that, but honestly, I think that's a great. Just the question really just throws a stick at you. Um. Give me 1 second. Let me just think, make sure. Okay. I think we're good then. So, I did see repeatedly though that the trads, especially the Catholics via Twitter, they try to keep bringing out Saint Augustine, and they try to basically tally like tally out. No, rally like they rallied out. That's not the word. They brought Saint Augustine to defend themselves to say the death penalty is actually good, because they try to get a Pope Francis saying it was admissible. I'm not even going to go into that because I didn't look at the definition, but again, fall through of logic. Um, but they try to bring out Saint Augustine saying like, well, it's actually good that we have that because it's actually good or restorative to the person to then get killed via because it gives him a time to think and repent. And there was a lot that I didn't look at because um you know he kind of was saying that I think Saint Augustine was getting to a lot of them are trying to basically say Augustine was pro death penalty and that God actually encourages it. Well, um damn. Well, the thing I said was the only thing I have to say is, well, if we're gonna be pulling out, like, if we're gonna be pulling out cards, or I mean, if we're gonna be pulling out saints, like this is a game of Yu-Gi-Oh, then I play Saint Maria Gorgetti. So for those of you that were, if you were watching me with Davide, like a week or two ago, I think we briefly went into Saint Maria Gorgetti. So she is a saint. She was canonized in the 50s, and then I think a decade prior she was beautified. And mind you, this is before Vatican II, so you suck on that seeds. Um, this is before all the corruption happened. So she's valid in the seeds world, in the trad world, and even in the normies. Saint Maria Gorgetti is valid. So for those of you who, good grief, don't have a full nose, hold on. Excuse me, good grief. I don't know why, but I went on the weekend to Curcio, and my nose has just been letting everything out in the past like week. So, anyways, so I'd like to bring out Saint Maria Gorgetti. So she has 0 attack points, but she does have 3,000 defense points for a 4-star, and only the Yu-Gi-Oh people understand that joke. So, anyways, so Saint Maria Gorgetti, to kind of like summarize the story for those of you who aren't aware of her story, Davide kind of covered part of it, but I went back and I looked up some stuff because I remembered it, but I was like, let me refine this. So she was about, I think, 11, and she lived, her family was very poor. She lived with, they lived with another family, and the 20-year-old son of the other family wanted to do some, adult things with Maria, but Maria said no. She'd rather die. And so he stabbed her 11 times or 13. Let me put it this way, enough times that more than one. So, so she gets into a hospital. The surgeons operated on her. Um, they have a little bit of a moment, and she eventually dies. She at the very end though forgives. It was his name, Alessandro, I think. So she forgives Alessandro, who was the attempted rapist, and so he eventually admitted, or I guess he's a attempted rapist slash murderer. Well, that's not attempted murder, but actual murder. You know what I mean. So he does that. He eventually goes 30 years into jail. He has a dream with Maria. She hands him lilies, and they burn his hands. And at that point, he converted. He repented in prison. He gets out, and immediately he goes to Maria's mother, and she says, "Well, my daughter forgave you, so I will do the same." So he later became a brother of an order, which I can't remember. So he became a priest, or brother is equal to priest. I'm pretty sure. Give or take, some finagling. Um, but anyways, let's just assume just stuff. So he does that. She gets, I think, in the 40s or something, she gets beautified, and then she gets canonized in the 50s. But she was a martyr of the faith. She was attributed as a martyr, but it was also the martyrship plus her endless mercy, which is something that, again, as I was talking about the theological reasons, do we say we truly love? And I can say I think Maria did. And I think that love is something that I think we all need to embrace. And I don't even mean to and it's ironic because I'm I'm a trad normie. I'm a trad Resorto going Catholic guy. Like I am, I am trad, but I am also very modern on some things. Like this is the one modern point I probably have of a lot of things. But it's interesting though because we have two saints. One that was in the 500s, or a little less than the 500s, or 400, maybe 400. He was in the 400s, and we got another girl that's only 11 in the 1900s. I want to say, I think it was 1903 she died. So then, yeah, it was about maybe like 4 decades before she got beautified. Which means she was on her pathway to sainthood. So I always love touting out the story with her, especially when talking about this, because we have a modern-ish saint, right? 1900s is a bit, more recent than 400 AD with Saint Augustine. And I'm not saying that Saint Augustine was idiotic and a fool or something. I'm just saying that you know the death penalty is somewhat still there, but it's very rare. So the high probability is we don't need it. Um, but yeah, it's just I always love her story because it really does go into us, and it really, if you are doing a story, or if you are like, I asked the question, can we say we truly love? If you couldn't do what Maria did, and I'm not saying maybe as she did it probably within a few days, if, or not few days, but like a day or so, right? If you're saying that you cannot forgive that quickly for that type of crime, then I think that says something more about ourselves than anything else. And I think that there really is kind of the death penalty's interesting, argumentative stuff is that it usually reveals a lot about a person over like who are they really like, right? Because if you say, well, I can't forgive them, then I got to ask a question. Would you truly love a homeless person? And if you say yes, okay. Would you love a homosexual? Yes. Transgender? Yes. Pedo? Oh, hell nah. Then I got a question over, so your love is very conditional, is more conditional than even God itself. And as we are supposed to be more Christ-like, which is essentially sainthood, to grow in this relationship with Jesus himself, again, I gotta ask the question: can we say we truly love? And I keep coming back to it because it's such an important question to say. Um, because if we can't say that everyone deserves to be loved, then that's a different gospel. It's as simple as that. Um, so yeah, so that's at least like what I just want to say, because like as I said, if we're gonna have um this battle between Saint v Saint, then I'm gonna pull out one too. And if anyone it will be interesting if someone tries to be like, because like I looked up Vatican II specifically because I knew people would probably be like, oh well, she's a modern saint. It's like, yeah, about a decade before a decade before Vatican II, so we can't even get like the seeds even admit that she's a saint. Um, so trads, you're locked in. you you either if you're gonna say like, oh well, she was dumb to forgive him, because at the time, like I don't know when he converted, but it was in that 30-year time period. So again, I just feel like it'd be funny if the trads try to be like, oh well, she was wrong to be beatified or to forgive him or something of that ilk. Then you're gonna show like hire more examples of the problems with the arguer, not the argument. So, I don't know if that may I wouldn't say someone go over the heads of those people that I'm talking to because if you're like that, I suspect you might have a bit of a I wouldn't say brain deficiency, um, and you're not the R word, but you definitely would need to work through the math in a little more of a step by step progress. So, anyways, so that is just at least what I want to get at with Saint Augustine without even going at Saint Augustine. I haven't looked at what he said. Um, yeah. So, anyways, moving on. 1, 2. So number 3 is sectioned out. 1, too many false deaths. So what do I mean by that? So I was in to give everyone a like brief story. I was in concurrent classes my senior year of schooling. I had Tulsa Tech in the morning, and that would go from like 8 to 12. So I would be home about 12 o'clock, give or take, or one ish. Blah, blah. Sorry, I love when I tell stories. I always like to add stuff and correct myself on minor things, but um so I can come home, and then I had college classes, which so my senior year of school, I didn't even show up to my home school. The only time I did was the let's put it this way, except for picture day, the other time I went there was my baccalaureate. And picture day was like in October, right? So now I was in COVID. I was a COVID year. I was the COVID people. I graduated looking like this. So, but we go through this. I was going through Comp 2. And what's really funny is I pulled in some of my friends to do Comp 2, and then we immediately got broken up into different groups. And I was sad, and because I literally was like, we should take this math class together or English class together. It's like, yeah, and then immediately get broken up. It's like, but anyways, we had this teacher. We were talking about justice, and this is where a lot of the like death penalty stuff definitely was, I wouldn't say influencing me, but it made me think. Because one of the lines that I thought was very important is, "Are you telling me, as a dude who um is against the death penalty, right? Because there are people who are not for the death penalty. Sorry, misspoke. For the death penalty. Are you telling me that you don't want him to live? So because if he dies, he's going to hell, assumingly, right? He's going to hell for eternity, but you don't want to give him eternity plus 5 decades of prison life to add that while you're enjoying your life doing whatever. Are you like just? I'm working through the logic there. Oh no, he's died. Ugh. But anyways, I find that to be funny. That is how like it's like, don't you want to like make it sting more? But and that was just like that was before I converted. That was before I was officially Catholic. That was before I was still a high schooler. This is not even associated to the church. It is just me thinking out. Um, and so what I think is, you know, interesting is in though we had a book and it was called Unfair and there was a lot to it. I think I got rid of it because I read it once and then it was filled with a bunch of liberal crap. But one of the things it did talk about though was false convictions and how there's a bunch of psychology stuff that happens and yada yada yada. But one of the things that it talked about was false convictions. Um, False convictions happen, right? False convictions do happen. There has been evidence that shows up later after We have taken out the guy. We have executed him, and then information comes out. I think in the book there had to have been one. I just can't remember what it was. Um, but there has been false convictions, and people have been on death row. Um, and then they pass, and we lose people. We have killed people. The state, which, mind you, the state consists of you. So yes, this is important. You should be aware of this. You consist of the state. You paid the taxes for the state. You agreed when you live in a state to be a part of the state. Even if you don't get active, you are part of the state. So yes, you are responsible for the state's actions. If you try to get out of it, I'm gonna look at you funny because like I live in Oklahoma. Of course, what Oklahoma does impacts me, and I need to be watchful of what Oklahoma does. Why? Because I'm an Oklahoman. I consist of the state. I'm a member of the state, right? Or the states, if you want to go national. So never don't say like, oh well, this ain't my alley. No, it is. You're part of the state. You pay for the lethal injection, bro. Um, but it's interesting though because we discuss how uh there's the false conviction, right? False. And false being sorry, false. Let me do the commas right. The false conviction. Because later comes out that he's not the perp. And a jury of my peers, and there's a whole thing talking about like juries and yada yada yada, right? There are some cases that are maybe we don't know if it's actually him. There's things, right? The legal process happens. But there are a few people who go out via the death penalty who aren't responsible for said crimes. Um, sorry, I thought of just one guy now. But I don't know if that's beneficial to say. One guy convicted of a crime and sentenced to die. Yeah, I haven't heard that story before. Sorry, just as a side. But here's the thing: if you're truly gonna say, well, the death penalty happens, to them, but it's only a few people. If you say, well, oh, we have the death penalty and a few people die, who aren't necessarily should have been killed, but it's only a few. What's the matter with that? That is such a sad way to view human life, right? Like if you're gonna be, oh, it's only a few. Okay, it's only a few thousand aborted babies every year. What's the deal? Like if you're gonna say that human life has a value, it always has a value, then it has some type of value, right? Like, it's like you got to break a few. Like the villain is always, like we go break a few eggs before you can make an omelet. If you believing in that mentality, then you're believing that human life is not as valuable as it should be. And thus, I think again, the question over not even the question of love, but a question over value of human life. Because if human life isn't valued, then what's the bad thing with abortion? Like, there's other stuff related to it. I'm not denying that. But I'm saying, like, if you're going to say, well, aborted babies, we're killing humans. Okay, so we lose, millions of babies. What's the point? Right? It's human lives. It's just a few. There's, how many people are in the world? Billions. Who cares? And if you're looking at me with a face of, what the frick? Yeah, I would too. I would too. I'd be logging off right now. Please don't. But yeah, but again, as I say, this death penalty question is really on ourselves as people of who are we, right? Who are we in relation to this? Because I think especially with some of the like you can label it under righteous anger, and I feel like people try to get away with that and say it's righteous anger. But I don't see that because righteous anger usually is justice. It follows the line of justice. But then once we get the justice, people want a little bit more, It's like eating a cookie, you want another one. Or eating one Oreo, you want another. And I think that's when we get into the vengeance, we get into bloodlust, and it's just a horrible way to live. And it's just as I say, just coming back to what I was saying. So funny enough, I got a closer without intending one, but it's like the death penalty really shows who we are as people. It really shows what type of society we have with the death penalty. If you say anything about the death penalty, you get to see a lot of who reacts in a certain way. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I was talking about the time that I was talking this Tuesday. I was at my church, and it was ironic. And it was ironic because father walks in while I'm or a little bit beforehand, which is ironic because my priest, I thought at one point had an article written about him because he would be outside of prisons and praying and hoping that a stay of execution and all that would happen. Um, I thought at least that's him. I need to look up the article. But it was funny because I was saying that while I was basically saying what I've been saying with the first reason that I was saying, the best theological reason. And it was really funny because my priest is basically, as I'm saying line after line and I'm saying a sentence, he just goes, "Mm, yes." Mm. And so it was semi encouraging to hear father somewhat agreeing with me, which I kind of knew, which I just thought was funny though that our table got chosen and then everything happened. So, um, but yeah, again, I think it's a question that we need to state. So, I see chat. I will get to it after I deal with number 4 because that's practically it. So at that point, this is when chat can just f my life up, or try to. Let's say that. But cost analysis. So I learned from the Death Penalty Information Center. 1 out of 6 death sentences result in execution. So, because usually when you hear this, people go like, "Oh, I'm not paying for their prison time." It's like, you already are. 1 in 6 is a rough math, bro. That's a lot. That's no one. That's low. 1 in 6, and that's just of the people who qualify into the death penalty, which is harder because we got legal system who usually tries to just get a verdict. So then they'll send them a plea and be like, "Well, we want the death penalty," and then they'll give him life in prison without parole as a plea bargain, and then before the jury comes back, they accept it or something of that ilk. Like if you watch, I get this is where I'm throwing in my I've watched Law and Order and stuff, which I'm hoping some of it's true, but it's like, yeah, that'd be the case. It's like sometimes the death penalty is asked and not given, but 1 in 6, according to the Death Penalty Information Center, 1 in 6 of death sentences result in an execution. So that got me thinking, how many people are in or on death row, right? Death row being that you are going to be executed under the death penalty. I found a number, roughly about a little less than 2,100 people. And I found that number according to this. This is a map. This is from Wikipedia. So, again, it's Wikipedia, public school brain going on. But less than 2,000 people are shown up on this map. I did this math quickly, but I'm pretty sure it's 2,000 or so. I looked up the number myself, and they gave me like a 2,000 something, and then like there was a 2,100 and something else. I got to 2103 on this map, so give or take 2,100 people. Ironically, that feels about just one prison. So, and I do. How many prisons do we have? Hold on, let me look at that. How many prisons are in America? And we get. That's not what I asked for. There's about 2 million people. Okay, yeah, we're talking to denominations that don't matter anymore. Yeah, 2,000 people out of 2 million. So that's, what is that? Hold on, I'll do the math quickly. So that's 2,000 divided by 2 million. It is only 0.1% of the incarcerated individuals. You're not even paying 1%. You're not even paying 50. You like anyone who tries to throw like, "Oh man, I'm not paying my tax dollars for this." You pay your tax dollars for everyone else. And mind you, I said 2,000 people. 1 in 6 people actually die, which means that there's only, there's something like 300 people that die. And that's if you get on the death penalty. And the death penalty has been rare, pretty rare. It's like 20 people a year, I think, in the few years that have been passing. So of those 20 people, you're only going to lose like 4 people. But 20 are going to be added to like the prison population and other stuff. So I think when people try to use like I wrote this as a cost analysis mainly because it's like people try to be like, well, I don't want to pay for them. It's like you are. You are even under the death penalty. That you still are. You're still paying for them. Um, Now, mind you, I got a whole thing with prison. How like I don't think prison should be like fun either. I could maybe concede. Um, Holy crap! The Giants beat the Eagles. Sorry, I can't believe that. How the 34-17? Damn. Like that. Sorry, I'm a Giant. I'm a Giants guy, but it's the Eagles. The Giants are 1-4. They just beat a 4-1 team. That's insane. Sorry. And the sad part is it using Stadium Live? I betted on the Eagles. I bet it against my own team. The 1 week I decide, they don't have it. Maybe I'm being taught a lesson of loyalty. But anyways, sorry. Just as a brief aside. Oh, that sucks though. That sucks. I was hoping that wouldn't be the case. Mainly because I put bets, but fridge. Okay. Anyways, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, monetary. So like, people there is always the people who are saying like I'm not gonna pay for this. It's like you always are. There's only like 300 people that will die, and that's of like an entire population, right? That's of the 2,000 people, only like 300 will realistically die. And then even then, governors are always saying like, you know what, I'm going to provide some clemency. So yeah, kind of rough. But yeah, so that was at least what I wanted to get at. I actually think I was done, unless if I was on something, unless chat wants to inform me that I was speaking some stuff and I didn't. But yeah, I think that's it. Wow, it's only 10. Good thing I'm going through the 1 Peter thing. Maybe I'll go on Twitter afterwards and I'll look at something. Ooh. Okay, maybe I can add a Lament of the Warden. I do have something that I've been thinking about. But anyways, that is at least what I have. There was more, but while I was helping my dad put in a window, some of the thoughts would go in, and then they went down here. Sorry, I'm pointing to my chest. I looked at where my finger was pointing. I was like, nope. Raise it up, get in frame. But yeah, there was a few things. But yeah, the best theological reason, and definitely in the Thunder one tonight. You gotta be kidding me. But yeah, that was at least it. But I see chat. I'm gonna get to it. I thought there was something else. I'm gonna take like 2 seconds. Just give me like 2 seconds. Let me think. Because we talked about the best theological reason. Yeah, I do have to say though on this with the cost analysis, I got told by someone that most people on death row tend not to die via execution, right? And I think they were for it. So I gave them a face. I think I made a face to them, and I had to ask, like, I didn't ask the question because we moved on, but I was like, so what you're telling me is that you're for the death penalty, but we don't use it. So then why do we have it? Like, if we're not even using it now, it's just efficiency. It's like it's like having like a guideline to say like every time you check in to work, you put on a funny hat or something. If no one puts on the hat, why have the rule? Like, it's just I don't know if they meant it to do that. But anyways, I think that's it. Yeah, because again, as I said, it technically is a prudential decision. You can believe either way that you want. I think that there's a way to believe, but Oh, good grief! That was a lot. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I did. Okay. Oh damn! I do need a tissue. Sorry, 2 seconds. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I thought I was red for a minute. Like I am, but it's just because I'm warm up here, which is so weird. It's like 60. It's like 90 degrees in Oklahoma. It's October. What? It's October, bro. But anyways, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, chat. I need to read chat. So presto prezesta prezesto. So what do we have? Let's see. He can convert before his execution date, just like how the church operated with government bodies during the Inquisition. Okay, so one, the Inquisition was the 1200s. No, something around that lines. 1500s. Oops. That is not the right. The Inquisition. 12th century. Okay, so it was the 11th. Okay, so I'm giving it more preference. Wait, 12th century. Okay, yeah. This is the 11 something. 11 somethings. So yeah, I was saying 13th century, so close enough. Ish. So he can convert before his death. I know Knowles was talking about that. He was trying to say, because I think I looked up something about it and how like it's like you give him the time to like you're going to die. What is your like last words or something? But I just okay, I'll get to that. But like I just with the Inquisition was one a longer time ago. What was it, the 12th century, where there's almost been 10 other centuries before that. Was it 9? Was the 1100s. So yeah, it's been about 9 centuries. So like I wouldn't say like obviously things have changed, and this is where it's like with the Catechism of the Church. It does state that it's allowable, but it's rare, which there's a high probability that we wouldn't need it in a culture that we have. People are able to be uh, jailed and stay jailed. We don't have prison riots. They're not escaping. So, you know, I don't see that. If you want to talk about converting before his execution death, I think that's just a cop out for people who don't want to give him a chance to convert because maybe he needs that extra 2-3 decades, maybe he needs to have a little bit more time, because if you're going to say, well, he hasn't converted, so we're going to go kill him anyways, then at that point I got to ask you again, it's the question over whether or not you truly want to see him in heaven, or are you just allowing your vengeance slash bloodlust to override and get him to hell. And you could say, well, and I know there's people who try to do a cop out and say, like, because technically it's like when you leave God, it is not like with them, they have left God. True. But you are going to make that change permanent. And if you're going to, because like, I think it was, sorry, I'm butchering this. With the sentencing that God produces, God obviously would probably, because 99% of times, if it is of a bad enough murderer, they're going to hell. And if you're going to say, well, I can't help it that God is going to just judge that way, you can, because you sent him earlier to that. There's a chance that he may not be, and that's on you at that point. But if you're going to be saying like, well, it doesn't matter, I just think is an issue. Why are you lumping in innocent babies with the child the child touchers? Well, Pope Leo did before. Because it is I guess I could talk about that. Yeah. because it is strange that we find human life valuable in the womb, but when it's outside of the womb, human life loses value. And like I understand as a society, his as a society, we kind of agree that there's like different values in life, right? Like if you're in a burning building, you're gonna save the baby more than the 80-year-old man. Why? Because the baby has more life to live. This was actually in the Unfair book. And he's right, right? Like if you're going to like if you hear in the newspaper a newborn died in a house fire, you'd be more saddened than an 80-year-old man died in a house fire. You'd just be like, mm-hmm. Well, he's 80. What do you expect? But if you hear the baby, you'll go, "Oh, that's horrible," and as you should. But yeah, I think if you're going to say as a pro-lifer that human, especially to abortionists, if you're really going to say, well, uh, you know, human life is always valued, but it's not valued because now you've done something. Again, I'd have to come back to the woman caught in adultery example that I gave earlier. And it's like, is not human life all valued? And if you're going to say, well, he did this, right? Like, because I think Presto is saying his actions caused it to be shorter. Um, oh, I hate that. I blanked. I literally just blanked. I had the thought running. I had the like printing press rolling, and then I read, and that went to the back of my mind. Um, but anyways, I think human life should be valued in all scenarios. In a natural birth, in both the beginning of life and the end of life, because I thought there was a topic with the church. We talk about natural death. I don't think having a lethal cocktail of drugs in your system is particularly natural. It's kind of like abortion for people, or even unaliving. For those of you who aren't aware of the YouTubing words I have to go around, uh, it starts with an S, and it's usually during November, Unaliving Veterans Awareness Month. I think, but uh, but yeah, it's just interesting because if you're gonna say, well, because I got the question, if you're gonna say like with why would you be against unaliving yourself? Because is his life not valued? Yes. Why? Because he's human. He's made in the image of likeness of God. That's the only reasons we need to say he's valid, or he's worthy, which is also the guy that has shot up 20 different people. That's just fact. Um, so yeah, so why are you lumping in innocent babies with the child tittlers? Yeah, because both are humans. They're another soul, a soul to be saved, bodily and spiritually. So I'd say that. Why do you always have to fight to uh, unalive at every instance of self-defense? Do you always have to fight to unalive at every? What does that mean? I'm turning unalive into the S word, and that sentence isn't grammaring correctly in my head. Um, do you always have to? Sorry, I gotta look at this. My mic's semi on the way, but do you always have to fight to unalive at every instance of self defense? Well, self defense is far different than getting a guy out of a cell, sticking him to a chair, and then sticking him with a shot. There's far difference. There is a distinction between the two. One is he's in jail and just sitting in his cell. Then there's he's about to kill me, which prioritization is that. If it is self defense, then you have the right to um, take on the guy, and if he dies, he dies. I wouldn't say that you should try, like, let's say he submits, or what's the right term? Yields. Let's say he yields and he's like, I'm done. I yield. and then you get him up. But if then you just decide to pop him in the head, yeah, I think that's a bit rough. I don't think you're justified. I don't know if that would be considered self-defense. If he's in the fetal position as you beat his ass, and then you just decide, you know what, I'm gonna get a sledgehammer. I think that just goes into bloodlust there. Now, I'm not saying that that is people, but it's like if you're going to take him on, and in the safety of your family or just yourself, mostly everything goes. It just depends on when does self-defense end and when does anger take over. You cannot be like, as I was saying, it's like if he yields at that point, it's citizen, it's arrest. But if you decide to say he was resisting arrest, then I think you're culpable of some evil. Which honestly, you may be even more evil than him. Which will be a weird thing to people. But his actions can cause it to be shorter. That's, well, dependent on the action, true. But if you're gonna say that, let's say take Alessandro from St. Maria's story. Um, not every self defense has to end. Sorry, hold on. And not every self defense has to end in a bad way. Yeah, like sometimes self defense is as simple, just like I have a gun. Either walk away, or we're gonna do something I don't want to do, which is fine. That's I would assume self defense and valid. If you feel threatened, then yeah, that I'm not. But that is far different. I feel like if anyone tries to bring up self defense in order, like, well, is a human life not worthy, and so we shouldn't kill people? Yeah, but the problem is that that's what you believe. Your enemy, on the other hand, doesn't. So at that point, yeah, but don't get it confused and saying, well, he's doing this, he's done this evil act, and now he's sitting in a cell, and somehow it's still self defense. Um, it's not the same thing. Self You can't attribute self defense in the hopes that um they still get the death penalty. That's just not that's not it's not you're debating apples and oranges at that point. His actions, like I know Knowles talked about this. I wish I found that clip that people were talking about that, because I know Knowles was talking about it with the um and how, well, he's got a shorter life, so he has now a time schedule to rethink his life. The only thing I would have to say about that is whether or not that conversion would be real, but just as a just back of my mind type thing. But I think if you put on, I wouldn't say necessarily the time. I think I'd have to think about that one and what a response would be to that. But again, there's more arguments than that, because you cannot deny the theological arguments. That is, well, if he is this evilish dude and his actions have proven that he is this evil dude, but he's going to go to hell, and we all know full well that he's going to go there because that is just how God would sentence him. Then again, it's just where there's arguments to be made, but then there's also arguments to be negated. And I feel like the best theological reason, which is sending more people to hell because they've done evil, I think, one thing, you aren't following me at all on what? Refine what you're saying while I finish this, because I think, like, especially if you participate in the sacrament of reconciliation for those Protestants, confession. I think it's I'm gonna be this is very typical, I think, but this is a typical rebuke usually for this, but it's like we all go into that confessional. We all need God's mercy, and we all need to be forgiven, because let's be honest, most of us, a lot of us, are going to be going to hell if it isn't for divine intervention. And that being, hopefully, if we are shooting for purgatory, not shooting for purgatory. No, don't shoot for purgatory. Don't. No, you shoot for purgatory, you're going to hell. Shoot for heaven. Shoot for heaven. But like, if we are all shooting for heaven and we all still miss, but we all kind of have different treks in that, and I think I forgot where I was going to go with this, but we all go to the confessional, and the confessional is to save us from this concupiscence that we all possess because of the original sin. Um, and I think with that, we all are villains in the eyes of God. We are his children, but we are also still culpable of villainy. Um, and so I just think it's really kind of hypocritical to say, well, I haven't done, well, my sins aren't as sinful as his. And I think that's a weird attempt at a rebuke because all sin is evil. Well, all sin is evil, but then there are scales, there are grades to the sins. Because you saying the F word too many times is far different than you killing someone. But we all should work our way towards becoming more Christ-like, bring everyone to Christ as well. And I don't see those who practice the faith. I feel like they are like, we don't want people who are villains to be Catholic, and I feel like that's a wrong um way to believe. And at that point, it's the faith turns into a social club than a faith. So we don't know that for certain. We don't know what for certain. Bro, you're gonna have to add stuff. We don't know that for certain. What do we not know? That he's going to hell. Excuse me. But yeah, I think I'll give Presta some time. Presto. I swear, you follow me on Twitter. Hold on. I swear there was an A there. Unless if I'm just blind. I swear there's been an A. Let me look. Profile. We still don't know that for certain. Hold on. We're looking. Oh, wow. I have 17 of you on Twitter. Hi, Twitter. Hi, Twitter. Sorry. I just saw that briefly. But what you doing, Twitter? You gonna write? You're gonna write in write it. Yeah, chat gets chat should be filled, boys. Come on, grow up here. Oh, it is an O. Interesting. Thought it was an A. And he's very well. That he'll be in hell. Okay. Well, I literally just went through that. I did talk about that. I said we don't know that for certain. Yeah. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna look up murder real briefly in the catechism. Because I have a feeling it's gonna say something that I definitely just need it to say. So I need the M's. I got K. I got an L. That's next, isn't it? Yeah. Mother, matrimony. We got New Testament. So media, mother, C, killing. Frickin' catechism. Okay, that's G. That's H. J. One more. Killing. Concern for eugenics, failure to give assistance, forbidden in Jesus's preaching. So we got a 22. Hold on. So we may have a 2262, forbidden in Jesus's preaching, forbidden in the Old Testament. Skip that. Legitimate defense. Skip that. Murder, a sin that cries out to. Let's do 22. I didn't even have anything hit up. 68. Let's do 68. Stop or remitting medical treatments, unaliving, unintentional killing. Okay. 22, 62. Okay. So we're at the same numbers. So 2262, which is a little bit before when I was talking about the death penalty. So we got 62 and 68. So 62. Interesting. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. We're looking. Okay, the fifth commandment forbids direct and intentional killing as gravely sinful. That's all I need. That's all I needed. I spent like 3 minutes. That's all I need. That's practically all I need. It's intentionally. It's an intentional kill. Because here's the thing: manslaughter and murder. Murder is usually the planned killing, and manslaughter is just that you killed someone. So yes, murder being that. Well, let me put it this way: that's a legalistic definition, which I assume is still translational. But we do plan to kill people. Literally, there is execution scheduled. That it literally fits the title of a murder. So, because we do kill them, like as I mentioned, the state. We are the state, and the state has deemed life to be valued at a certain rate. Which is also funny because these are people who want to talk about the government shouldn't have power and other stuff, but yet they believe that the government can choose who lives and who dies. At a certain point, England's just going to accept the death penalty for sending out a meme. So I just think that's funny that we have a judicial system where we are allowing them to choose who lives and who dies. But anyways, but he would be in hell. There is a high probability, and the high probability theologically, divine intervention could happen, but we're not going to do that. But again, even more from that, even if, let's say, he read the whole thing. Okay, fine, I'll do the challenge. It's not really a challenge. What was it? 2260 something. I threw away the card, so it's 22. It was like 22.8, wasn't it? Yeah, intentional homicide. The murderer and those who cooperate voluntarily in murder commit a sin that cries out to heaven for vengeance. The entire thing, I assume, whole thing. Infanticide, fratricide, patricide, and the murder of a spouse are especially grave crimes by reason of the natural bonds which they break. Concerns for eugenics or public health can't justify any murder, even if commanded by public authority. Murder is premeditated through selfish means. Where is that defined? Where does the church have defined that, or is that a legal definition? So, just getting that. But yeah, I'm gonna give like maybe 6 more minutes on this, and then we'll move on to the 1 Peter 5. Sorry, I clicked on my I kicked my computer, and my pinky now hurts, or my pinky toe. Sorry. But yeah, premeditated through selfish means. You know what? Here, we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna look up. Wow, that just got filled. Let's do define murder. Murder, to kill another human in an act of murder, to kill brutally or inhumanely, to put an end to / destroy. That's a verb. To spoil, we're not doing that. Without justification or excuse, especially the crime of killing a person with malice, forethought. That's a lot of words. Without, an instance of such killings, something that's very Okay, no idea. Unlawful killing with malice aforethought. Well, there's somewhat malice. I feel like part of that is also for people who engage in said, I wouldn't say said behavior. What do I want to say? I think, how do I say that? Um, I think people don't want to know that um we are like evil creatures. Like I know people um like I think we know that, like especially if you engage in your theology, you are aware that we have a concupiscence, we have a human we have a that the nature from original sin. We like evil. We like doing evil. That's just what we are. We like doing evil things because evil things are what we're drawn to. That is like it is. If you take a look at, let's say, um, like children, children would probably be a great example. They just have thank you, Brian. Um, there's like even children, they have like a proclivity towards just doing what they would like, right? Like, because you take a look at, let's say, like a toddler with his younger brother. The younger brother has the toy, and then the older brother who's like, that used to be mine, or that is mine, and then he steals it back, right? But it's not even. But he doesn't know any better, right? Because that's part of us. We like to keep what's ours. We like to be little greedy twerps. Um. So yeah, I think that is so funny. I had. That's funny. I'll show it. Just give me a sec. But it's like I think people also have a problem with like. I think people have a problem with knowing that humanity can be as evil as we are. Um, I think we have a problem with admitting that humanity is really evil, and I think some people kind of want to walk away from that, and I think they want to just forget that there are these evil people that are still human and thus another soul, but I don't think they want to spend that time in working to save the heart of a villain because they see him as just that. And I think that's where some of this animosity also takes over. I think that there's a lot of people that want um, to believe that humanity is good, and the fact of the matter is we're not. But anyways, so thank you, Brian. I know we're disagreeing briefly, but thank you for that. It's true. But I really love Ryan's comment. Ryan, you ain't gonna see this if you're on any one side. I see it because I'm on 5. But Brian wrote the Pope is wrong, and then literally the next comment I get after from Kick is the Pope being based is nice. so so that was kind of funny. Uh okay. So, but Brian, let me look at this one. The Catholic Church teaches otherwise, along with the teaching of 12 popes. Um, okay. So I assume the death penalty then is what you're referring to. The teaches otherwise, along with the teaching of 12 popes. Um, define 12 popes meaning the I assume, gosh, I've only been alive for like 3, so and he and I was only Catholic for 2 of them. Uh, so I assume you mean Leo, Francis, Benedict, all them. We going down. If I look at the line of progression for popes, and am I going to see Vatican II? Is the last guy going to be Pope Pius or something of that ilk? Um, the Pope is wrong. The Catholic teaches otherwise. What do you hold on, Brian? What do you think the Catholic Church teaches? Just so we're aware, because you may be saying teaches otherwise and saying that, because if you're saying the Pope is wrong, but the church says this, then what is the church saying, and thus the Pope is wrong? I'll give you a couple seconds for that. But yeah, but again, I like to encourage those that are definitely are contesting with me, because I know I said like I got like 10 seconds of my impromptu timer, but um I'd encourage you to listen to the beginning when I was talking about Saint Maria Gorgetti, because as I said, she's before Vatican II, so the seeds even have to admit that she's a saint. And I feel like her story, if especially if you disagree with Pope you know those times of like when the calendar shifts and you know when the calendar shifts and you still say it's like 2020 like come in a 3 months it's January 2026. I'm gonna still say 2025. I said Pope Francis multiple times when I was thinking about this and I had to stop myself because it's Leo. But Leo was when did Leo happen? That was near Easter. Yeah, it was near Easter. So that was April, May. So, but I encourage you to watch the beginning, the theological take at the beginning, Saint Maria Gorgetti, um, at the very least, because I think those are theologically sound. It's going to be really hard because if you're going to say that, um, like as I said, if you're going to agree that Saint Maria Gorgetti should not have been forgiving, and even though that's like a high point of why she's a saint, it's going to be funny. Okay, last thing, unless Brian answers me back, which may not happen, mainly because I'm not seeing a avatar. So just it could be a bot. Just say, oh no, Brian's here. Never mind. Sorry, Brian, I called you a bot. My bad. So let's see. Hold on. What is this? It takes time to explain, but the church has always taught otherwise. Since Vatican II, the church has been going downhill. Brian, I just gotta ask a question. I'm not judging or anything, but are you a Civic-activist? Just so I'm aware, not necessarily to mock you for it. Just the fact that you brought up Vatican II just is a question that I want to ask. But it takes time. The church has always taught otherwise. Um, since Vatican II. Well, then again, with you, I'd have to ask because if I do hear that if you do write that you are a Civic-activist, or if you're just a trad, then that doesn't really do anything. But if you were a Civic-activist, Saint Maria Gorgetti was before Vatican II. She was canonized before Vatican II. So this isn't you know what are you gonna do against that? As I said, it's like what are you gonna do against her traditional Catholic not seed? Okay, yeah. So you would know the story of yeah. Sorry, Brian. Didn't mean to offend with that. But it's just I had to ask because there's a gauge. It's like normie Catholics. You kind of get like this kind of gauge of like practicing Catholic and other certain stuff, and then you get to the trads, and it's like, are you a seed? Are you an SSPX? Are you a trad Cath who goes to the TLM? Or are you just knowledgeable of the faith? Uh, that's fun. That's fine. But yeah, the but it's like I gotta ask the question over that with Maria. Then, are you saying that she was wrong to forgive, or? But again, if it's with Prosesto, if he's providing dignity of choice, it's still a prudential decision according to the church. I thought the last I looked at it, I thought it was a prudential decision. So you don't have to believe one way or the other. I'd encourage you to believe one way. That's just what I believe. And that's what Leo believes. And there's been a lot of other guys since Vatican II who believe in that. Because we do live in a pretty ordered society by now. So, anyways, Resda, what do you have with Pope for Pius the 12th? Even when it is a question of the execution of the man, the state does not dispose of the individual's right to life. By his crimes, he has disposed himself as his right to live. Okay, I gotta look at Pope. When did Pope Francis or not Pope Francis? Pope Pius. Just out of curiosity, where's Pius? 40 to 60, give or take. Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm just thinking because that's before Vatican II. So this is before Vatican II. Just getting that up. Okay. The state does not. Okay. So okay, this is a time I keep throwing her name out because I'm just, but Saint Maria Gorgetti, you're gonna question the actions of a saint in that way. I hate to do that. I keep throwing her in, but I only did a few things. But it's even in the question of the execution of men. Hold on, the state does not dispose of the individual's right to life by his crime. He has already disposed of his right to live. Hmm. He has already his right to live. I'll need to think about that. But it is a pope. But if this be the case, if Pope Francis said something the counter, what would be the difference at that point? If I threw in Pope Francis and said, well, Pope Francis thought this and Pope Leo thought that, or he agrees with me, right? Like the video that was just there, if Pope Francis or Pope Leo, sorry, like I said, I keep doing it. Pope Francis, like if Pope Francis, okay, if Pope Leo was saying this stuff, it's like, can't that counteract? Like we got Pope v Pope now, like, just like what would be the difference between the two? But okay, so we got Pope, Texas, whatever, here, dignity of choice. Okay. Let's see. So Prezesto, I would encourage you not to throw this in because I literally said I didn't care. I literally was just asking because then it's Vatican II, because before Vatican II, Maria was a saint, and then of course we want to talk about. So it's like, is that her mercy then a falsehood? Like, should she not be a martyr? She's a martyr of the faith, cool, but is the another part is her mercy. Her mercy is why she was also canonized. So are you saying that she should have been falsely canonized? So I'm not saying that just because he could have been a seed, and I wasn't even going to. I have no idea what yes is, but I didn't. I was asking seed. I wasn't crying it out and saying like you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not saying that. So don't try that. Don't try that with me. Why does the Swiss Guard have weapons to protect the Pope? It's as simple as that. Oh, that's cool, Brian. You're near me. Yeah, I'm in Oklahoma, so I don't know where St. Mary's is. I did not see the link. Prezesto, St. Thomas Augustine, or Aquinas, sorry, supported the death penalty as a last resort for the common good, comparing it to amputating a disease. Okay. Are we really there? Okay, so look again, this comment supported the death penalty as a last resort. As a last resort. A lot of you have been making it the first resort. You like, Brian, you disagree, but you're theoretically just doing it. You're just missing that vital piece. You said last resort. The last resort. But then why should it be applied? Let me put it that way. Why do you think the death penalty should be then applied? What was the first resort that we did? Or the second, or whatever. What have we used elsewise? If you are then going to say that, well, we should keep it because it's on the last resort of things. So, because like I'm not denying, again, like I said, if it is really bad, and let's say the guy is still out, he's doing things, for crying out loud, we could get into, let's say he was a terrorist and he is able to do like 5 different 9/11s from his cell, then yeah, take him out, fine, because that's a public problem. That's a that's a concern for public safety or the common good. So, person was reacting to that. Brian, one more. He argued that the state entrusted with public authority, I don't really trust the state with authority, but sure, could lawfully execute dangerous criminals who threaten the community to protect it. I agree with that. And I think everyone agrees with that. Okay, Brian, we'll get to that in 2 seconds. But I agree with this. I agree with this, that if it is really going to be a dangerous person. Like I gave the example of the Joker. The Joker breaks out of Arkham Asylum every week and then kills about 100 people. Yeah, Batman, you're feel free to kill him. Like he's the one guy that you can, that you probably should. But yeah, to protect the common good. But then there's but what problem? What dangerous is a dude who's balding, 40 years old, sitting in a cell, getting sticked up by the white people, or they neo Nazis or whatever. But sorry from AI, Brian. Sorry, I'm gonna call you out. This is like throwing a tweet and saying at Gronk. I'm going to I'm sorry. I've got to just like sorry. I do that for everyone. Because that happened. If you're on Twitter, everyone it's like at Gronk, is this true? And you have to verify it with AI. It's just like I got just a wee bit of problem with that. Like I do it with Brave too. Like Brave has really been nice. I love Brave because it does give you an AI like summary, but it also gives you the sites, and so I usually go into those to like get the actual uh words, not just what I get from the summary, but from AI. That's sorry, Brian. I'm sorry to call you out for that. I know I'm not really calling you out. Somewhat not. Uh, so let's see. Hold on. Romans, for for he is God's a minister for you to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear this sword in vain. Yeah, like God doesn't want our deaths. But I have no idea. Fruitcake abroad. I don't know if you're for or against with that. I assume against. Or let me rephrase. You're for the death penalty. Sorry, I was saying against like the Pope Leo's right type thing. But throwing but no offense, but you're doing the Protestant thing of throwing a Bible verse and hoping that like it works. Because Protestants do that all the time, and I roll my eyes when they throw a verse that's just from somewhere in the hopes that it works. So I'd have to look what's around it. Bible's way over there, so I'm not going to look. But again, President, if you're going to want to remove it entirely, okay, one, the Moderate Church will ignore tonight, but want to remove it entirely. So we have no resort, according to you. But if you agreed, you literally said a yes to the St. Augustine, using it as a last resort. So what was the first resort? Ask you the same question. What was the first resort that we have in dealing with justice? How is it that we are on no resort? What is the first? Because we cannot have a first and last resort. That's not comparable. That just means we have a resort, which in this it says, sorry, wrong one. As a last resort, meaning that there's usually, I would assume, more resorts. So what other resorts have we done? I gladly like to know. Read the Bible verse again. Okay, what? Why? Don't just be like, read it again and be like, oh, you can't see it, huh? What's so important about this Bible verse? Tell me. How am I an idiot? I would gladly like to know why. And I don't mean that as a snarky answer. I mean that as just tell me why, because telling me to reread it is not going to just magically have my eyes opened and I know. I don't even know who he is. He could be, I assume Jesus, but it could be someone else. For he's God's minister to you for good. He is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. We're probably gonna have to wait for him to write a thick paragraph. And I say thick because I only get like a box this big. So so some of these have been I wouldn't say thick, but they've been they take some bits. I've also zoomed it up a bit so I can read these, because I can't read some of these because when it's at 100, it's like this small. I can barely read. But anyways, uh, I sent the yes because you seem to realize the contradiction of Francis. I didn't really. Fresno, you want to answer the question that I asked, or are you going to read the Bible verse again? Okay, why? Answer that question. Answer that question. We can come back to the yes for the contradiction. Or I'll take the question over what resort. Either one. I'll take either one of why that Bible verse is somehow magically applicable. That is just, I can't see. Or I'll take the resort. Either one. And I accept that challenge to everyone. If everyone's like, I know what he's talking about, write it in the chat. And I don't even mean this as a funky way. I mean that just, I want to know why. Why? I want to know why, because we need to know. That's the only reason. I'm not like a certain Catholic apologetics guy who doesn't like Groypers. Prelude to a Lament of a Warden. So I will give us at least 4 more minutes. So I talked about it for 2 hours. Man, I didn't have anything. Thank you, chat. And I do mean that. I appreciate chat for being there because we increased probably like 30 minutes because of it. Presto's taking a lot of time. He's all right. Okay. While he's doing that, rare feat from Dart. Okay, I'm going to read that before I get to the article. 1 Peter 5? Need to visit a trad priest and you'll see the difference. I'm pretty sure I have a trad priest. Okay, this was so long ago that it's gonna take me like 5 years to find this article. August. Wasn't it August? Ah, here we are. Yeah, this story. What did Dart do that was so nice? Tossing 2 interceptions, blah blah blah. I'm still waiting for Presdo, so I'm not being lazy and forgetting that streaming. I'm not streaming. To score opening TD in each of their first 3 off. Okay, so it's just they're literally just doing a game. They're just coming up with stats to say he's done something. I still can't believe New York Giants won. There's no way. And I lost so much. Like, legitimately, there is like, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I made 7. I made 7 bets in a correlation thinking that the Eagles were going to win. I made 7. I believed my Giants weren't going to win. And then they decided, you know what? We're going to win. They battle them in 2 weeks, too. That's aggressive. But anyways, but I think my priest is pretty trad. He seems he's kind of trad. Like, he does talk. For crying out loud, there was I had an associate priest. He was Mexican or Hispanic, sorry, and he was pretty base. There was one time he was talking about the people who leave mass early, and I was like, thank you. Okay, Presno, what do you have for me? Okay, there's a lot of text. I love how I asked you 2 questions and you sent me a question. Just start it off with that. I love that I sent you a question to answer and you just sent me another question. You just completely ignored what I asked. But should governmental bodies emulate the mercy and the judgment of God on the earthly side? Context, Bible verse. Oh, sorry, never mind. I'm a dumbass. Or let me put it this way. adding it to the very end of like what you're talking about was you probably should have flipped that order. Should the government bodies emulate the mercy and the judgment of God? Well, we're supposed to be Christ-like, so yes. So yes, you are guilty of crime, but you have also been merciful in not being killed. I think that works. You get both. You get punished for the crime, but not so much that you're dead and going to hell. Okay, Brian, you got one. We'll end it with this. Fresno, that's not nice, and you know that shouldn't be said. So what is this, Brian? There is a lot. Hold on. I'm out of Mountain Dew. There is a lot. No, that's Mountain Dew. Voltage raspberry. I initially intended just to get a Mellow Yellow, and I didn't find any. And then I saw the Baja Blast, and I haven't had it, so I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. And then I saw the Voltage, and I just went, yay! It's actually really good, surprisingly. See, the thing is I love Mountain Dew. Like I drink Dr. Pepper more than I drink Mountain Dew, but I like Mountain Dew. The only problem is Mountain Dew has a lot of sugar in it. It's like Dr. Pepper only has 39 grams. Oh, Mountain Dew, this one has 46. Okay, so it's not as bad, but it's a lot more. And then sodium was different. No? Okay. I thought there was something else. But I remember there was something with that. Okay, let me look at this, Brian. There is a lot of contradictions in the Vatican these days, so ask yourself what was right for a few thousand years is all of a sudden wrong these last 30. Who is right? What is right? There's a lot of contradiction in the Vatican these days, so ask yourself what was right for a few thousand years is all of a sudden wrong these last 30. Well, we are a church that does live in the world. We are not of this world, but we live in it. You know, times do change. That's why some things happen. Like the church has evolved with the times as well. It's ish, right? It stayed consistent to the gospel in accordance to um, certain catechismal states, but it is a little sus to flux. That's a weird. I think I just want it for. I don't know how to put that in a way, but that's an interesting question. But if Fresno is doing what I think he's doing, then we'll figure it out. But I gotta ask. But again, I'm asking other questions, and I'm getting everything but that. The church cannot involve and change teachings. Okay. So where is the church then? Okay, hold up. Yeah, I said that there were some places it doesn't evolve. Like the mass has evolved. It has two forms in the Roman Rite, right? Like when I say evolve, I don't mean it necessarily as like we've changed necessarily, but we've done different. So like because the TLM or not the TLM, but the mass has evolved. It does have more than one form, and it's always had that. For crying out loud, Saturday Mass used to be a Saturday Vigil. That's an evolution of the church as well. It just used to be Sunday, so. Okay. Well, the TLM didn't change, but the Novus Ordo got added, and it was a valid mass in the church. So we evolved. We're fighting over a very smaller definition of evolve, growth, what have you. It's a tomato in my eyes currently. Oh, good grief. Okay. So, I am going to then move on. I'm hoping that I had some of you look into what I wouldn't say the like got you thinking about it. I definitely again I asked the question, can you really say do you truly love? Is an excellent question to ask yourselves. Um, but yeah, that is I have got no closer. It is just, sir. I'm gonna move on from that, Brian. I don't want to get into a full trad v Nervous or TLM versus Nervous Hordo tonight. But yeah. So yeah, we still have more. Like you don't need to roll away, guys. We got we got two things actually. So I want to do the one peer. Do I really want to do this article? Hold on. I need to go briefly through it just to there's a lot to this. Do I want to do this? Yes, I think I will. I think I will. I don't think it's as long as I'm making it out to be. Yeah, it's not as long. Okay. So, I really hate though that it's can I take this aside? Thank you. That's so much better. Okay, so it's just gonna be longer now, theoretically. Okay. So that will do us for discussing whether or not Pope Leo has been right. We'll go into and just for Brian and Presto, I am not admitting defeat. I am just being a content creator and wanting to move on. So don't think you're winning. Just saying that just because I don't want it to just being honest. I had other things planned. I have one other thing this planned, and then I kind of had another thing while I was today. Today's been a weird day with especially on Twitter. I think yesterday, today, tomato, tomato. But yeah, I think this was a great. I feel like I brought up some great examples, and I'm hoping that maybe all of you will agree that we should do away with the death penalty, especially since we don't exactly use it anymore, or at least at the frequency that we used to, and it's kind of no benefit. Because let me put it this way, I would say a caveat of this is like if it's still there, it's not even used. Like a lot of people were fighting for it or fighting for it because they have nothing. It's um like we're fighting for it, but it's not really been used. So anyways, so with that, I will do away with the big original idea, which I completely forgot to get the intro slide to. I also need to switch out the music, which is a different problem I have. I just realized I need to get Sono's background music. Sorry, brain's going AD, not necessarily ADHD, but just mentalness. But anyways, so that will do us. So I'm gonna move into interpreting heresy segments. And so what do I interpreting heresy segments are very interesting segments. How do I know that? Well, because it's usually where I do basically what I'm doing today, only far more egregious. Usually today is politics. Like I say, it's usually politics. We're gonna figure out if abortion where it is on the state levels. But we're gonna do interpreting heresy. Don't again have the intro for that. But there's this article that was said, and there was just something in it, just a brief, and it looks like it's at the end. The brief end that just made me like go and have like two different thoughts. So I want to kind of say those thoughts, but I want to go through the article for reals. This is first time reading it, so this is not um, somewhat planned. I don't know what is going to be in this article from 1 Peter 5. It is, let me just do share. That'll help. Um, less frequent. Okay, I'll answer this because it'll be 2 seconds. But less frequent death penalty is not the notion of the Moderate Church. We have less now. There's like 300 of the population currently. There's only 2,000 who are actually on the death penalty. You are fighting for 300 people to die for nothing. It's 300 people. We can put them in prison by saying that you go against the Moderate Church. Well, yeah, you especially know I'm not a moderist. You know I'm not. You especially, Brezdo. You know exactly that I'm not a moderate, but I'm also not so much of the trad where I'm going to. We'll get into it. It's going to show up tonight, especially with this article. So this article came out on September 2nd. I need to share my screen. So, screen share. So this article from 1 Peter 5. Gotta go. Good luck on your apostolate. And if you can, come visit the Immaculate in Kansas. You would not regret it. Well, thank you for the invite, Brian. I don't know if I'll ever be in Kansas, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you for queuing in, though, or conversating and everything else. Okay, so sorry, I was in a weird spot for a second. So, so we have this article from Lauren Phelps. Now, I read the bottom section, and then that made me interested to read the entire article because there were things in it that made me go, "This is weird," and it created two different thoughts from me. So we're gonna go through it, and then I'm gonna give some thoughts about it. But her article is a TLM girl in a Nymphos Ordo world. This was released on September 2nd. So I'm gonna read this. I have not gone through this, except the little blurb that I saw about the article, and then I found the article. So we're gonna go through this blind, and I'm going to discuss some of this. Now, I will admit, disclaimer: I am a Nymphos Ordo guy. I go to the Nymphos Ordo, so I'm moderate in that way, but I'm very trad in most of my stuff. Like women, you belong in the kitchen. Like women belong in the kitchen. No, I don't believe that. How else are they going to get the groceries? Like, yeah. So like, I'm not so modern, but I'm not so trad either. That I go to like the TLM or something. I go to Resorto, but I'm very trad. So this is why I'm saying I'm in a weird position where it's like I'm too modern for the trads and I'm too trad for the Moderate Church. So, to quote Bresdo. So anyways, let's read through this. I was living my best Catholic life. Thanks to a powerful encounter with the Lord, I went from a check-the-box faith to an all-in, sign-me-up, on-fire disciple of Jesus. From catechist to vacation Bible school, I gave my yes to everything, but my church involvement peaked when I introduced a women's Bible study to my parish. The program was wildly successful, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a profound sense of belonging. I had found my people, and I knew my purpose, and the church felt like home. Okay, there's really nothing for me to hit there. Like, cool. Like, honestly, when I was on Crucio, this was something that we talked about. This entire thing. I went from the checkbox faith to an all-in. One of the things, Mechanical Mike, that was the person. Mechanical Mike is the person that goes and does these things because that's just what Catholics do. There is no like faith into it. And so, yeah, that's like a lot of Catholics, I feel like, are the checkbox. Those are the ones that you don't see at anywhere else except for one day at Mass. And that being Sunday, because you won't see them on holy days of obligation. If you really want to find a Catholic spouse, guys, look for the girls that go to holy days of obligation because those are the girls that actually give a shit about their faith. Or confession. Well, not even that. The holy days of obligation are really good because you won't see some people there. You know why? Because they have better things to do, which is a lie. So, anyways, and then a wrecking ball tore through the front door. Well, that's a problem with Miley Cyrus. Anyways, the demolition began with a question: "What's on your arm?" We were assigned a new priest, and I couldn't help but notice his manner of dress. It was different, ornate, and I was captivated. This is sounding very much like a smut book. Just saying. This is a. I can't say this word. Sorry. I had an extra P for a minute, and I was like, that's wrong. This is a manipole. He said it represents the toils of the priesthood, a towel used to wipe away sweat or tears. As a 49-year-old cradle Catholic, well, that would do it, who rarely missed Sunday Mass, how can I never seen this before? That, that's everything. There's so much in the church. Like, you shouldn't be surprised that you're dumbfounded. But okay, continue. Sorry, we're continuing. Father enthusiastically shared the significance of robing himself in the unworldly when he entered the church. I can't approach the altar looking like myself, he explained. Intrigued, I returned home and immediately Googled manipole, catapulting myself down a sacred vestment rabbit hole for hours. Okay. I can't really hit this paragraph for anything other than what I already did, which, yeah, Googling something. Yeah, that's just typical, you know? Next morning, I wore a dress to mass. Okay. But this was more than garments. It was the way he moved, turned, and genuflect. Okay, that's a little creepy. I'm sorry, but like I get it, but at the same time, writing an article about it, especially as who is a married woman, because I read her bio very quickly. As a married woman with kids, it's a little weird. It's a little weird to be like the way he moved, turned, and genuflected. It's just it's a little off. No offense, but actually, all offense. I don't know why I say that. All offense. A seamless motion, a quiet mystery unfolding. His every move a prayer. Of course, this is such a woman. This is a woman. No guy would ever write crap like this. You know why? Because guys don't write stuff like this. We wouldn't be like, it's more than just his garments. We'd be like, he wore some stuff. That's all we would say. He wore a thing. That's it. That's all we would write. Women like to do a Kamala, but something extraordinary was happening on the altar, and I was not the only one who noticed. My Bible study friends recognized it too. There was a reverence and rhythm of beauty that made our daily mass routine less routine. Gone were the days of casually entering the church. We were prayerfully ascending the mountain, and boy, did we love it there. Until we were kicked off. Okay. I don't think I can really say anything else on this. There's not really much to like flick at, except for the beginning. Just the fact that it was just semi weird. But gone were the days of casually entering the church. We were perfectly ascending the mountain. Well, yeah, like we got a problem with that in the Rosario Church, and I hate that. I hate that because it's ironically I was in RCA, and the person who was leading it had to talk about like when we go into the sanctuary, we're supposed to be quiet. People don't usually do that though, and I just was like cracking up in the back because I was like, yep, and yep. Sadly, the priest was relocated, our spirits deflated, and there was far too many parking lot conversations. What does that mean? Why is that? What does it mean that you have too many parking spots? Okay. When the drama died down, we accepted our fate and everyone returned to the status quo. Everyone but me. With my husband's blessing, we followed this priest to a parish where he was permitted to offer the traditional Latin Mass, a Mass I knew nothing about and believed was simply an ordo said in Latin. Okay, I have a problem with this line. We followed this priest to a parish. I have a problem with that line. Like I know like I technically parish hop. So I don't know how much I can really say cuz I parish hop too, but I've kept the same priest. I didn't leave for a priest. I left because my sponsor was near this church, and so I went to that church instead of the church I should be near geographically, and then I just stayed there because I met people, so I was like, I don't wanna leave. I don't wanna root myself, which mind you was like one tendril, before I went to college. But it's like I would like to and then I got other family there too, so at that point, there was more than just my sponsor. There was also, some family there, so but, like, following a priest to a parish, I feel like we talked about in Curcio too. I forgot why, but we did talk about it for something about, like, maybe there was something. Was it a discussion we did? It may have been in discussion, but yeah, it's just we followed the priest. It's like, so your faith is subjective to your dude. Like, it's a weird thing, and I don't think that this is not typical. It shouldn't be typical. You should not be following a priest. Like, there's one thing about parish hopping for reasons, and then there's just we decide to parish hop because the priest. Because if he moves again, are you going to parish hop again? Because at that point, maybe you need to be at the other parishes because maybe there's something in the other priest that helps you. Another challenge for you. Um, it's like, just because they're gone doesn't mean that you need more lessons from them. Maybe you're not supposed to, or maybe other people aren't. There's so much out there. But despite his first time instructions, do not try to follow along, just soak it all in. The control freak in me screamed to know what the heck was happening. Between the confusion, disorientation, sweating, all while trying to balance a slip sliding veil on my head, I'll admit I wasn't sure this was the mask for me. I preferred the one that handed me a script and assigned me my role and put me under the spotlight. The TLM delivered none of that, and yet I kept coming back, kept getting drawn in, until one morning, while humbly kneeling at the communion rail, something came over me. Never, never had I felt so beautiful, so close to God, and so in love with Him as I did in that moment. When I got home, I ordered a veil with a sewn-in clip. That's right, I was all in now. Yeah, this is totally a woman. There's no guy would say like, "That's right, I'm all in." Like, no guy would be writing stuff like this. That's so funny. Okay. Um. Oh gosh. So yeah, the only thing I have to say, so I'm talking about the TLM somewhat. I'm living. I go to the Nova Sordo, right? I go to the Nova Sordo. I prefer the Nova Sordo. Uh, that being said, I've gone to the TLM. I've gone to the traditional line mass here in Oklahoma. Um, I've gone to it more than once, so don't no one get me on the like, well, you should go again or something. I did. But I went useless bugger. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you for that comment. That is edifying us all. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm a Resorto guy. But I've gone to the TLM. I went once with my sponsor, and then I went later because his wedding was in that too. And then I went again to the same parish that we did it in the first time. I didn't particularly none of the times we went, I did enjoyed it. It was very it just kind of was meh. Like, I went and I was just like, what are y'all doing? Like, this isn't like there's nothing here. Like, like I hate to say that, but it's like when I left the first time, I was like, I don't even think I went to mass, which was kind of what she said. I'll admit that wasn't sure. I wasn't sure this was the mass for me. I didn't even think I went to mass. Like, honestly, that's how I felt. Like, I felt like I didn't do like there was just too much silence, I think, in that I wondered too much, and I just was there just watching everything happen, and I just got bored out of my mind, and I just didn't enjoy the TLM. I didn't enjoy the mass, and even though I just was kind of there soaking everything in and kneeling when everyone else did and standing when everyone else did, it wasn't working. And like, I'm a trad guy. I'm fruitful for the harvest for the TLM, and they couldn't get me for whatever reason. I'm not valued, I'm not the guy somehow. But it's like, yeah, I went to it. Let's see. So I did it. How many times did I do it? So I did 2 times one day. I did it the third time. The first, 4 regulars, 1 wedding. So I've gone to it 5 times, and I still am like, I've gone to go because that was what we did. Um, because I was with my sponsor at that time. So that's what we did. And I'm like, I was open to it. I was able to, but like, it was meh. I wouldn't be what I prefer. But anyways, the traditional land mass is both an ocean of refreshment and its school of humility. It has opened my eyes wider than I thought possible. Everything is elevated. My posture of prayer, how I confess my sins, and the way I examine my conscience before receiving the Eucharist. I've been introduced to forgotten customs like Ember Days, Sempta, what is that word? Septuagesima. And my favorite, the Rotary Mass, or the Roy Rotary, in honor of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Every time I learn an old custom or ancient prayer, I marvel at the depth and richness of our faith, thinking to myself, this is what I have been searching for my whole life. Like the parable of the merchant seeking good pearls, I have truly found the pearl of great price. And the parable doesn't lie. It is costly. I'm a TLM girl living in a Resorto world, and it hasn't been easy. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm kind of like I just go with stuff. So like I don't feel. I feel rarely. So like this is not gonna apply to some of me. I'm just gonna be like, okay, cool. Like, okay, remembering the customs. Cool. Not gonna yeah, like I'm not gonna hit it for that. You do you. Feel free to do that. Um, you know, forgotten customs. Cool. Like, I'm not gonna hit it for it. I'm sorry. Like TLM, you can do that. I'm cool with that. Like I'm going to Resorto, but like TLM, you can do you. But when you start advocating that the Resorto is somehow like delegitimate or something, now you made me an enemy. Um, but yeah, cool. TLM girl living in Resorto world. Hey, I live. I'm halfway there. But leaving a familiar parish, attending a different mass, and adhering to a liturgical calendar that differs from those of my closest friends and colleagues comes with their own challenges. Let's just say that my departure from Resorto has not been without its assumptions, accusations, and uncomfortable situations. Okay. From holier than thou to contributing to the division, I have heard it all. But what has caused the most grief is the loneliness and ignominy. My pride likes to remind me that back at the Resorto, I was a big deal. The community praised me for my efforts, crediting the success of the Bible study to me. At the TLM, no one praises me. They praise God, and successes are the fruits of the Spirit. Okay. Uh no offense, Laura, but I think you're just making something that was nothing into something. I'm isn't that the point of why you serve is because you hope to be an instrument of God, of Jesus? Like I think this may just been on you and what you were doing the Bible study for. But cool. Yeah, then that's really the only thing I'd say is like I think you're saying that you were a big deal. Maybe that was kind of like it's just like if you're saying, "Well, I'm a big deal. I was a big deal." It's like, were you or are you believing you were a big deal? The community praised you for my efforts. I don't know, but that's just a weird I think that's a weird way to be all like, at the TLM, we only praise God. Because this sentence is more or less saying that then I wonder you didn't say it, so I'm not attributing it to you, but it does bear it's written in a style that's saying that somehow we've lowered the praise of God in the Resorto. You've halfway indirectly admitted to that. Just saying. I also discovered that as an older mom of adult children, making friends at the TLM requires more effort. Having lots of low kids is where the social scene is at, and well, that ship has sailed. I do, however, have 12 chickens, so perhaps homesteading will be my way in. I miss my friends terribly, and while I see them from time to time, it is not the same. Serving side by side in parish ministry is now a thing of the past, as are nights of Compteri praise and worship. I love these women and have invited them to come and see what I have found to no avail. Wow, she just shifted real quick. Is now a thing of past is okay. So she's saying she's doing other things that she used to do with her friends. I feel like she's just making up. I feel like this is just woman who is making problems that she just needs to just get over herself. I love these women and no, hold on. Yes, it is. I love these women and have invited them to come and see what have found to no avail. When they complain about the weak homilies or lack of reverence, I say, come to the Latin Mass. When they start church hopping around town because of the bad lecture, unbearable music, and loud conversations in the church, okay, there's only like one of those that I would actually give credence to. The unbearable music is kind of like, okay, sure. Bad to you. It's very subjective. Bad, just deal with it. And loud conversations, that's something you can talk with Father. Try the traditional Latin Mass when they are discouraged and admit to feeling like there has got to be more. I encourage them. You'd love the traditional Latin Mass. They tell me they will come, but they never do. Okay. There's a point. I want to come back to this because this is the half of what I read. I did not read the beginning part, but this is the half I read, and I've got a point for this. And if I know Brian ain't here, but if you are a trad, I feel like the opinion I'm going to say may mess with you just a wee bit because this is just funky. So I'll get back to it. We'll come back to us. But they never do. I don't know why they never do, but okay. I don't know why they never do, but I'm gonna come up with reasons. Okay. What are your reasons? Hold on. Let's see if they're good. Let's see if they're good. I don't know why. Sorry, I can't get through this line. I can't get through that line without clapping. But I know what it feels like for me. Fear of the unknown, letting go of control, and the real possibility of losing something we love are obstacles the enemy loves to throw in our way to prevent us from a deeper union with God. We want to follow Jesus. We may even deny ourselves sometimes and suffer a little for him, but lose everything. That's where we draw the line. And I get it. Even if what we are losing is for our benefit, when the road gets hard, it's difficult to trust that God is leading us to something better. I can understand why the Israelites wanted to return to Egypt. Uh, okay, sorry. Like I understand she's making a connection of like she's spiritually hungry, but I don't know if they're culpable. Just say. There are times that I long to go back when I cry out to the Lord, "What have you done to me? Bringing me out of the resort where I was catch." I'm sorry. This is such a weird article to read. This is such a weird. I'm gonna have to do this weekly. I'm gonna have to find one now. This is such a weird article to write and post to top it off. To post this article. This is such like you're saying like I fought Goliath. Like that's essentially what she's getting at too. I've defeated this great evil. I fought Goliath. I went to the TLM. And it's like I can't be the only one. But anyways, where was I? Long to go back when I cry out to the this is such like emotion for this is such a I'm such a man reading a woman's work. That's why this is probably more funnier to me. What if bringing me out of Risorto where I was casual and comfortable and had no idea what I was missing. Now getting myself to the church requires greater effort and discipline, with a good chance of sitting in highway traffic for up to an hour. Back then, I enjoyed familiar community, a close circle of friends, and impromptu coffee dates after daily mass. Now I have to learn a new language and make new friends who most likely live miles away in the opposite direction. And don't get me started on what sacred music has done to modern liturgical hymns. If only I had if only I had never attended the traditional Latin mass. I don't know. I love how this is like a Protestant rebuke at this point. It's like the music is so much better. I'm like, if you're at mass for a music, bruh, if you're at mass for music, don't. I don't know if you really. I don't know if this is really comparable, but okay. Uh, yeah, but I can understand the comfortability ish, but I also feel like that's subjective in a way. Um, yeah, it just depends. I think on some other stuff, but like she can get another community. Like if she church tops, she would a close circle of friends that you can have the same friends. You don't have to be. You can have non-Catholic friends too. Like you don't have to have friends who go to the same parish. You could just have friends. Um, Now that I have learned it, I think this is again, this is woman brain and this is man brain trying to understand woman brain and woman brain sounding idiotic and human brain or male brain is just going, huh? I'm providing solutions and she's having a monologue over here. Sorry, what did she do? Oh, but I did, and all will be well because here is the thing about God. Okay, what lesson did she pull from here? Every time the devil holds up one of those earthly losses, the Holy Ghost floods his light on the bigger picture, reminding me of a truth the world is hell bent on my forgetting. My life is not about me. The mass is not about me. Bruh! You cannot say the mass is not about me and then legitimately just said, don't get me started on what sacred music has done to modern liturgical hymns. You cannot be don't be saying that. Do not be saying the mass is not about me and then literally bitch about the mass. uh You're literally like, this mass is so horrible, and then it's not about me. Come on. Anyways, worship is not about me. I don't think she heard herself. That's the problem here. That's so funny. That's an interesting. Like I get what she's getting at, but she cannot be like the mass is not about me. Worship is not about me. And then even though she was like, I love going to praise and worship and the music. Oh, yeah. She sounded like a Protestant at this point. Okay, where was I? Worship is not about me. Authentic discipleship has never been described with words like easy, feel good, or convenient. Okay, like yeah, but occasionally, like, are you just like if you're trying to make your life harder for the only reason just because you want to, like you do you, but there are some like fasting is making your life harder, but you don't have to be like I'm going to, perish on the other side of the country because, I want to make my life harder and drive for 8 hours. Yeah, no, I don't think you need to do that. Rather is characterized by, sorry, let's get back. Rather is characterized by self denial, suffering, rejection, and even death. Much as I long for church companions, coffee dates, and a mass that's a hop, skip, and a jump away, the greatest longing of my heart runs deeper. It longs for an interior transformation, a life centered on Christ. That's fine. I thought this is what the Novus Ordo is also supposed to be about. So I don't know why this is like I think you're just sucking the Kool-Aid of the DLM at this point. A life centered in Christ, an otherworldly experience. In a word, heaven. Good. Like good, you found what you need at the DLM. At the end of my life, when I come face to face with God, He's not going to ask how many people knew my name. He's going to reveal whether or not He recognizes my own. As terrifying as this is, I believe there is no better preparation for this moment than the traditional Land Mass, a liturgy that is teaching me to pray humbly and reverently, one that closes the door on the modern world. Okay. This is just going to aid what I'm saying, going to be talking about, and immerses me in the eternal, a mass that brings me to my knees and directs me towards God as I enter into the mystery of Christ's sacrifice. I won't lie, there are times that I struggle, but I have found the pearl of great price, and it is worth selling everything. Okay, and we got Laura Phillips, who probably dyes her hair. No offense. but she wrote her age. I thought she said she was like 40 something. She said an older mom. Okay. Older mom with adult children though. That was it. So she's got to be she could be near her 40s. Okay, maybe she's not. But it wouldn't be out of line to say 4 adult children. Okay. So it's Connecticut too, which is also funny because it's like, yeah, it's worse in some of the like northern places, but I feel like it's interesting though. I want everyone to bear in mind this one that closes the door to the modern world. But then I want to get back to what I was looking at beforehand because if she found what she likes, I'm not gonna hit her for that. She do her. I'm cool. I'm not gonna, Laura, have fun. Like that's it. Go meet your friends. Go do what you want to do. Like I don't care. What I do think though is ironic is this opinion that is reinforced in the trad movement, and I don't particularly like it because there's the one at the bottom that I'll get into, but the first one I really want to get into is what she writes here because this is why I want to look at the article. She says here when they complain about the weak homilies. Sorry, let me get the W. When they complain about the weak homilies or lack of reverence, I say come to the traditional MS. When they start church hopping for reasons that are just idiotic, except for the loud conversations in church, I cry, try the TLM. When they are discouraged and admit to feeling like they like there has got more, there what admitted to feeling like there has got to be more, I encourage them. You'd love the TLM. They tell me they will come. What I think is ironic is the trad movement. Here, I'll go full screen. What I think is interesting about this trad movement is something that I don't think that they're aware of. But like I was talking earlier today, right? Tonight, we were talking about the seeds because I was just curious, not because I needed anything. But like I was talking about being traditional Catholic, you're ranging from Sedevacantivism, SSPX, trad, TLM Catholic, or just a trad. And what I think is funny is there's 4 groups. For the regular normies, there's like 1, 2. It's like I am like, and they all don't really have they all center around just like lukewarm Catholic to, I go to mass every Sunday type thing. These are Christmas, Easter Catholics. These are Catholics who show up every Sunday but never go to any of the other sacraments or anything else. They're just there. What I think is ironic is though when she's writing about this, come to the traditional Latin Mass. In response to my church is doing things that I don't think that they should do. Her first reaction is just leave. And I think pairing that up with this other statement that she also writes way down here. Where did I say it? I told you all to keep me one. Where is it? One that closes the door to the modern world. What I think is interesting about what she writes is she says to close herself off from this world, the mortal world, which she lives into, which the church is supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. What I think is funny is trads have this mentality that I think they have to address of just leaving things to stew. And there was a word that I rather say that I can't think of right off the bat of my head, but it's interesting that they just leave things to go, like to crap. What word am I thinking of? There's no fight in the trads, which is so ironic because you would think they have a lot of bite, but their bark is worse than their bite. Because I'm so scared of a trad who the moment that things got difficult, she ran. And she even ran before she went to the TLM. She ran because, oh, the Novus Ordo, so, it hurts me because they won't show up and they're doing some of this weird stuff in accordance to me, according to Pope myself. And it's like she leaves. She leaves and she encourages others just to leave and not fight for their church, not fight for their parish, just to leave because it's easy. And it's so ironic. I just realized it's so ironic. She literally talked about doing what's hard. She couldn't even save her own parish. She didn't even try. She didn't even say that she was fighting to save her parish. She just admitted, well, who cares? She just left it to die. That's such a cowardly move. And that's why I say I'm not scared of some trads. Because you all talk smack, but you can't deliver shit. I'm sorry, but trads, you gotta, if you're gonna mean crap, you better deliver. But you're not. And so I'm not scared. You want to talk all this smack about you're the tough Catholics, you do this and that. But it's like when it comes down to the wire, you ran like scared dogs with a tail between your legs. You can't tell me the TLM is better when all of you guys keep running to it into your sanctuary away from having to deal with the world because you had to grow a pair and instead you decided to just chop off your leg and walk thinking that was sacrificial. I'm sorry. I'm crashing out halfway, but it's like I hate this mentality of the trads where it's like when things get difficult, we just run. And you know how I know that's even more true for the Catholics that are traditional Catholics who just go to the TLM? Sedevacantvists. Well, we know what's better because Vatican II changed the church. And we know because all of this change is wrong. So we're going to leave and do our own thing. SSPX. Well, there's been some weird things with Rome. So we're just going to leave. And we're going to do our own thing. How are you any different than Protestants at this point? I got to ask you. How are you any different? Seriously. How are you any different than a Protestant? Well, things are getting hard. How are you any different than a guy who was upset with Luther and decided, oh, I'm going to do my own thing. And then you became Protestant, level 2. It's just, I don't even think the trads see it either. That's what's upsetting. I don't think they even see it. Because either A, the aesthetic God because they say they worship God. What they mean is the aesthetic of traditionalism, which is largely what a lot of them do believe. Their God is filling this box. And if they are not in this box, then it is frowned upon. No, we are Catholics. We live in the world, but we are not of the world. Legitimately, after Tuesday, I was talking with a guy. We were talking about Magic: The Gathering, which I played last night if you want to watch the vid. But he was talking about this older woman who was, I think she's joining the church now, but it was funny because he was saying that he was talking about his Magic. He plays Magic, which I do too. You're free to do that. Where there is no. Let me just explain what she said. She was saying that, well, as a Catholic, you're supposed to put that away. Mind you, she hasn't even got confirmed in the church, so we're gonna move on from that. But let's assume that she was confirmed in the church. No, go play Magic. If you're, let's put it this way: if you have everything done, and you have an hour of free time, you've prayed, you've done everything that you need to do as a good Catholic. Feel free to play a game of Magic or two. Go and play Arena. Hell, I'll play you. I said that as a joke. Unless if I have online, in which case I'm sorry. I'm sorry you got beat. But it's such a weird phenomenon that it's like the trads try to, one, either out-trad each other, or two, they run. Like she literally admitted in the article, we'll try the TLM. Oh, you don't like your priest? Come to the TLM. Oh, you don't like the music? Come to the TLM. It's never, oh, this is happening at Mass? Oh, there are loud people at Mass having conversations? You should talk to your priest. No, it's just straight up just leave. What is this? This is like she's arguing like a Protestant who's like, yeah, I went to a Life Church and I really hated it because the worship music sucks. Oh well, you should just well, you should come to us. Um, start yeah, it's like Haven's New Light or something. It's like maybe I will, and then they don't or something. It's like I'm just I'm just saying like I'm not scared of a trad who literally is just running away from the fight. Um, and that's essentially what she admits to. She indirectly is admitting to running away from the fight. Now, she is a woman, so women don't particularly like to fight. So, and understandably, women don't like to get into the thick of it. But that's literally she's. Well, I guess that's it. She's just acting like a woman. When it got tough, she ran. When things got rough to help the church. Now, if she wanted to go to the TLM, sorry, I have a bite. When she went to the TLM, if she wanted to go to the TLM, cool. But I think the way of her going and saying like, "Oh, well, you don't like that the choir director rather do this hymn or play the four verses of America the Beautiful during holidays, American holidays." Well, you should come to the TLM instead of like I don't know, talk to the choir director. uh this is why I say like sometimes I can't take trad seriously because it's like there's no fighting in them. And it's so ironic because they want to like, especially on Twitter, they like to say what they do. Like for crying out loud, I go to and the only time I'm admitting this now is just because like I've been admitting a Tuesday. I help out with RCA. I don't even admit that I do that. I don't post anything about me being there. The only time I ever thought about doing it was this week because we had 6 tables of like 5 different people. We had 30 people. There's at least a dozen inquirers and 6 more in a different room who are now potentially going to be in inquiry. We have almost 18. We have like 20 people potentially going to be entering the church, either as a candidate or a catechumen. Like that's pretty good, and that was probably the only time I really wanted to take a photo and be like, we filled up these spaces, like the church is growing type stuff. But it's like you'll never admit to me. I'll never say anything else. Like after tonight, if someone says like, "Oh, don't you go to RCA?" I'll be like, "Sure." That's it. I'm not gonna even say anything more other than like, "Yeah, we have a lot of people." That's it. After tonight, that's it. Because I don't reveal what I've done, but a lot of trads like to, especially online, like to reveal they've done this or done that. It's like it's all performance, and it's just sad. So, anyways, um, what's this notification? Hold on. Okay. Um, so yeah. So that will do me in at least for this conversation right now. Hold on, I'm looking at something. Hallelujah. So, Vegas Golden Knights won. Good. I won another bet. Mind you, I'm using fake currency because I cannot actually bet, or I shouldn't bet. Let me put it that way. So, anyways, so that deals me in with the interpreting heresy. So I'm gonna. That's just for me, so I can edit this because it will be on YouTube. Cutted shortly. Hopefully, I need to kick my ass in gear. I need to shift computers. So, the only thing else I want to get at is there's been something that's bothering me of late. So this is where this is where I would play the title card over Lament of a Warden. I just want to before I end tonight because I only need maybe 5 minutes. So I'm very happy. Thank you all for queuing in the stream though. Before I begin this, thank you all for queuing into the stream. I appreciate it. I appreciate Brian, even though he's gone. Presdo, Lauren, I I don't care. Like you just said this, so I can't really grant you with anything worthwhile. But thank you all for like queuing in. I appreciate it. I didn't have too much going this week, or I have a lot of time this week to do this, so I was happy that I was able to extend it. Because I felt like this was a great night tonight. So thank you for that. So yeah, let me get into what I'm having some issues with. So I'm gonna queue up just a little bit more. Okay. Do you all like me here, or would you rather me back here? Do you think I should look up and be more here? Should I have it up this close? So I just want to get at this. I've been racking my brain for maybe the past day or so because there's a certain creator, and I will name him because I have balls. Catholic Christian. His real name is Eric. Eric has a channel called Catholic Christian. Now, I had Eric on for an apologetics drinking stream for like 10 minutes one day. And I let him on. I didn't. I trusted Will. Will was saying that he could get him on, and I trusted Will, so I brought him on. And I followed Catholic Christian. I had watched some of his content prior with the rebuttal to Protestantism while I've been working on other things, just something to, cue in the ears. But then he started live streaming, I think, and that was the time that I realized I don't think this guy should be a creator. And what's sad is I was really thinking about joining. He once said that he would let me on his channel. He said that during the apologetics stream. And I was thinking about joining at some point because he does have about 20,000 subs, and I currently sit at 90. So thank you for and speaking of which, thank you for everyone. If you can do that, that would be pretty appreciative. But I have 90, and of course, the Green Goblin mask is calling out to me, right? It's like getting more people by going on a show and hopefully graft off, like 1,000 people, right? Or something of that ilk, right? But I started watching his content, and during streams, I was not particularly, I wouldn't say impressed, but I don't think he should have been a creator. I don't think he was adding anything to the conversation that was edifying. I don't think he was saying anything of himself. And I think the time that he did, I think he's flat out wrong. Because I think I meant to get these scenes, but I was playing Catholic Christian I've played once before when I was talking about boomers, because he has that boomer mentality, and he was talking about stuff, and I just couldn't believe some of the things he was saying, because he was talking about people were talking about Pope Leo, and how the Pope Leo market it was going to get going, and like I agreed with that, but the Pope Leo market that would turn him into like the Francis 2.0. But he says that, and then he goes, I'm just concerned about your souls. He had to justify it, which is such a red flag for me, because every time I talk to a boomer who says like, I'm just cared about your soul, they're trying to get you to rethink, because they can't get you with anything other than, I think you may have done dumb things. What dumb things they won't tell you, because they don't have that vocabulary. They just don't like what you're saying. It's a censorship tactic, which has been employed to me multiple times by even younger Catholics who have the boomer mentality, because they're cucked. Not cooked, cucked. But I think this is just, I watched his content and I realized I don't think you should be doing this content creation. Not because of the crash out, which is why he blocked me on Twitter. He had a crash out, and he basically was yelling at everyone, well, debate me, come on my show, debate me, come on my show. And I called him out with a really good, I won't deny, I got blocked for a really good reason. I got blocked for a really good tweet. But I quoted it, and I said, bruh is on his Jay Dyer arc. And that did not go over well. And I got blocked. And I've been blocked for a while. And on YouTube, I unsubscribed from him, and I actually hid the channel. I asked YouTube to quit recommending his videos because I kept watching live streams. And the sad thing is I don't think he's in there. He's not an apologetics guy for the art of apologetics. he's in it for the super chats, because legitimately, bro will be talking, and he talked about super chats, and he talked about it way too much. And the reason that I don't even talk about super chats is, one, because I'm not monetized. But if I ever have to beg, like an OnlyFans girl or even a Twitch gamer girl who's like, "No, I need come on, guys, it's only $5 to sub. Can you please give me something? I need to pay for my ramen." If I have to do that, I'm getting out of this job. Like, I'm not doing content creation. For crying out loud, I don't even want to do content creation. I want to be an OKC. I want to make laws. I want to make meaningful change, not be a Twitter person or a YouTube person. I don't want to sit behind a screen every 20 seconds and berate everyone and block everyone, like, with the mentality of a child, which is so ironic because Eric's like probably twice my age getting there, and I have more maturity in this conversation than him. He just blocked me. I blocked zero. I blocked zero people. You know why I blocked zero people? Because I want the debate. For crying out loud, I had people tonight who were coming after me who said that Leo is wrong, and I engaged with them. And I know Presdo personally, so different story with him and how I interacted with him, but I think I treated well enough. But it's like, there's something about Eric that is tripping me up, and I didn't like it. And then I see him now keep doing stuff that I think he's doing precisely get the YouTuber stuff. What really ticked me off, though, what really made me want to talk about this, though, is today. There is a video that Eric has done. Eric has done a video called, Eric has done a video going after the Groypers. Now, I am not a Groyper. I fully admit that. But I'm aware of some Groyperish stuff. I do share some Groyperite properties, but I am majorly a nuclear conservative, as I call myself, which is just basically a conservative with values. And I just think it's kind of the boomerish, but it's such a cowardly way of, like, every time that he has to discuss anything, he's just hiding behind either a block, he's hiding behind a YouTube screen, he's blocking behind that. He's blocking behind the monitor, the screen, because he can get away with this stuff. And it just bothers me because he's not the only one because I'm not trying to go at Eric too much. Like, I got problems with Eric. He's not welcome on this channel. I'm not having him back on. Like, I will tell, like, Will had him on, and I should have held my ground and be like, no, because I even felt that before I watched him. But after I watched him enough, I was like, this guy's in it for the cash. But I've watched other content creators who have a Catholic, because I'm in a group chat a bit with a lot of other people who are Catholic. I went to the Catholic Creators Conference in July. That's why I took a week off. And I met a bunch of these guys. There are a lot of apologetic bros, and some of them were great. But Eric wasn't one of them. And there's only been two people. The only person I got tripped up on was Sarah Stock. For some reason, she was just weirded out by me. So either she didn't like me because she smelled the anti-e-girl spray, or she just was weirded out for what Germanists, I don't know, or the dead stare that I can do. And then Cameron, but Cameron I'll not go after. Like, I think Cameron's a little lazy on his thumbnails. Other than that, and I think he repeats some stuff that he makes copy videos. But other than that, I'll have him on. I'll talk to him. Cameron's more been given some allowance, but Catholic Christian, no. But there's been other creators. Like, I don't know what it is about some of these apologetic guys, but why do they have to be, like, I say so gay, to not mean like they're literally gay, but just meaning, like, why do they seem such, like, weak? Like, I understand, like, maybe I've been hanging around Majoran and a New Crusade for way too long, but, like, why is it that some of these guys are just so, like, they're so weak in a way? It's like I was watching, what was it? Pope Defender go after Wagner, And he was like, well, because Wagner was talking about Lofton, and Lofton was married, I guess, at one point to his ex-wife, who was a adulterous woman who slept around a lot. And he tried to get it and be like, well, actually, according to, and he tried to like theorize his way. But even I'm like, bro, why are you this much of an idiot? Like, you cannot know this much about theology and be that much of an idiot. Because he was like, well, technically, because the church annulled his first marriage, he was never actually married. So saying that it's his wife is wrong. Okay, civilly, he was married. Bruh, don't be the stick up my ass, because I'm gonna pull it out and whip you with it. Like, but yeah, Severus, yeah, nah, for real, they're too feminine. Like, even like I called Eric a boomer, which he's at an age that he is, but he's got a boomer mentality. There are younger people who have the boomer mentality. And like, he's going after the Groypers. Like I was talking about Eric, he was going after the Groypers. And after this video, because I'm gonna post this to YouTube, or Twitter. But before then, I'm gonna post because I want Eric to not know about this. Yes, I'm being sly, but I want to have, because he went after. I was talking to Chris from Chris Crash, and he was saying that Eric has also blocked him because he interviewed Pine Sap, and so which I think is probably the gayest reason, other than some others that he said. He was like, there were some other reasons, but they were vague. Chris seems like a good dude from the Crash Cannon. So if you want to follow Chris, do that as well. He's Crash Cannon. I think the Crash Cannon. Go and send him stuff. I've probably retweeted him, so look at my Twitter. But like, I wrote to PineSap because PineSap wrote something, and I said like, I'd rather have Groypers in my back. I'd rather have Groypers at my back than the boomers that are so concerned about like every little small thing. It's like, no, but it's like, I'd rather have the Groypers, because not only are they younger, but they actually are willing to do stuff to save our home, to do things for the church, with the actual reverence that is needed and the force. So, and like, yeah, I again, I'm not a Groyper, but I'd rather a Groyper over a boomer. So I'm gonna reach out though I'm gonna send a tweet out. If somebody could please at Eric when I post this, if you follow me on Twitter, which you should do. If someone can add Eric, because I'm blocked, so I can't make the tweet. I'm gonna write that in PineSap, and I'm gonna see if I can get them both on, and so we can actually have a discussion. If not, I'm just gonna PineSap on. Honestly, I'll DM PineSap probably tonight. I'll probably send the message and DM him at the same time. And so I can get PineSap at him and we can talk about him. Not in a way of gossiping against him, but to talk about the Groypers, and like, so I can come at him and learn more about him, because I'm not a Groyper. I have a guy that I know who is one, and I know that his heart is in a good place, and I think a lot of Groypers are too. For crying out loud, I brought in Joe because I know he was a friend of the Groypers when we were talking about America and all, like a couple months ago. But anyways, I'm just tired, because like, I'm in this channel with a bunch of these apologies, and I was like the only guy who was doing politics. This stream is practically what I would have to be doing in order to be with them, because I engage with politics, and on top of that, I believe women. I believe in getting rid of the 19th Amendment. I believe that we shouldn't be accepting of the homos in the way of active homosexuality. Same as with transgenderism. Child affirming care should not be done. Like, I believe in I don't believe, for some reason, there's also a weird thing with the Jews and how like we shouldn't convert them. It's like, we are Israel. The church is Israel now. And if you don't believe that, then you're not believing in the faith. If you don't believe in the Great Commission, then you're not even Christian. So I'm crashing out. I've crashed out at the later parts. I love how I crashed out after the death penalty. You would think that it would be before. All right. So, oh, Service, you wrote a but more. Sorry. Mike is now like in the way, precisely, exactly in front of it, so I can't read it. But let me look at what you've written. So, Uh, but anyways, I'm tired of some of these like weak ass apologetic guys. It's like, could you not be so like stereotypical, smoking a pipe, I go to, it's like, oh, Trent Horn, and it's like, could you not like do I have anything here? Can you not just be like can you not suck the life out of the world, Okay. But anyways, I'm gonna answer this from service. That is it at the crash out. That is it at the crash out. I'm just tired of like there's just so many apologetic guys. It's like, could you be anything else? Like there's more to your personality than theology. And and I know that there should be because of the fact that I don't. I literally talk about politics, theology, and gaming. That's all I have. That's all in my life. I talk about RCA, which is also theology. Like I have like I go fishing, but I need to go. I need to expand. I learned that the other day. Um but gosh, it's just I'm tired of these apologetic guys who are just the weakest betas imaginable. And it's just getting to me. Like, honestly, I was thinking about leaving the Discord with Kyle and Drew, and honestly, I'll probably if I cut this and it's short enough, I'll at them and say something about this, but I'm tired of kind of, like, weak ass stuff that some of the content creators produce. Um, because like, I up here I try to give meaningful, edifying content to some regard. Like, I understand you can say gaming's not edifiable, but I have conversations with people for crying out loud. British Margaret Thatcher, if she's here, I was talking to a lesbian in the hopes that, and then I shared the gospel in the hopes that maybe if well, she's listening, I would hope that she wouldn't be a lesbian married to a woman. So I'm able to do stuff even in that, but I don't have to be this Theo bro. That's well, actually, according to St. Augustine, like I don't have to do that. Why? Because I actually have, you know, hey, I've got balls. That's what my dad said when I was born. That's not he ultrasound me. But anyways, what you got, Cerberus? Nah, for real. Yeah, for real. Sorry, I moved my mic. They are too feminine. Like it's even like with Trent. Trent is so afraid of talking to the Groypers, and that's why I'm saying like if Pintsap agrees to get on my channel and Eric doesn't, then it's just another Trent Horn scenario where Trent Horn is just scared that Nick is going to kick his ass, like at a preschool, like in a recess. He's scared of being beat by the talented athlete. But what was it? They just say don't be mean. It's so stupid. Lofton is the peak of feminine. Yeah, well, Lofton does some other stuff. I'm not so familiar with him. I hear more about him from Wagner. Wagner, I would rather go to battle with Wagner. If I had to battle Protestants on anything or anything like that, I'd rather Wagner over Lofton. But yeah, don't be mean. Well, sometimes that's what it needs. Like there's two alleys. You can't. Sometimes you got to be a chisel. You got to be nice, and then there's other times you just need to call them a effing dumbass. Um, didn't he say that Groyper's homophobia turned away Ether Orthodox and Protestants? Okay, I don't know about Ether Orthodoxes. Orthodox usually would be against the homophobia, but or the homophobia. Groypers aren't afraid. They're no. Okay, turn only the Protestants. That's so funny though that he would say that. Um, I I haven't. I need to watch that 15-minute video. Um, before I send the message out, but yeah, I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of apologetics guys thinking that they have like I think I only have 90 subs, right? And I got 160 people that are I tweet. And I'm very small. I'm very small. But I want to keep that mentality when I get big. I want to be just because I'm big doesn't mean I have a voice necessarily still and that I'm like a big man on campus, right? Like I'm a voice in the sea of thousands. And I hope to remember that. And I hope that my humility keeps me in check because I don't want to be like, well, I'm theology matters. No, that's gay. But yeah, what were you saying? It's pretty abysmal from the clips I've seen. Yeah. Well, I saw one thing about homophilia. Like honestly, Nick has brought a lot of people to the church. Why? Because he's ballsy, and I appreciate that. For crying out loud, I've got a dad. My dad's Protestant. He likes that. He needs that. He wants to feel like the church has some type of oomph rather than this effeminate like boomerism. Like he needs that they're going to do something. He needs that like action, and Nick is providing that. And there are many guys who need the church to do something. That's why there's no men in Protestant churches. You know why? Because of the fact that it's gay church and it's literally suppressing their manhood. They might as well be get a vasectomy. Like that's how bad it is. Well, not vasectomy, sex change surgery. Might as well make them a woman. That's how bad it is. Okay, Cerberus. Just to ask, what type of theology are you most specialized in? Secondly, are you a Thomas? I am specialized in nothing. I have engineering degrees. I have nothing other than I've watched a lot of stuff. I would say Protestant theology in a way. I do a lot of Protestant apologetics or counter Protestant apologetics. So I have no idea what the difference is, Thomas, Scotus, or what have you. Like I said, I'm not a theology guy necessarily. I am and I'm not. I'm in it, but I'm not so much that I'm to quote Majorian, I'm not a pencil neck Theo bro. So see Majorian, if Majorian's not watching, I highly suspect. But yes, Majorian, you see what you've done to me? You've turned me into the meatheads Theo guys. Become a true Theo bro. I did. I got one girl literally said she wouldn't date an Aeon Theo bro, so I think that qualified. Which was so funny because I'm like Theo bros are like the best men to get with because more than likely they're also gamers, but it's like they know their theology. Do you not want to educate your children in the faith? The answer is yes. If you say no, you're not going to get serious Catholics. It's like, don't you want the guy that's going to like have a lesson plan set up and it's ironic to me. But anyways, I think that's it. Crash out. Or Lament of a Warden. I'm done with the lament. I need to send out a tweet. And if anyone who's on Twitter, wait, how many Twitter people are here? Hold on. I can see you. Okay, there's 20 of you who are in Twitter. One of you reply, I will at Eric. Do that and I'll make the tweet. And then stand by and I'll make the tweet tonight. Before I get out of this chair again to take a whiz, I will make it. Give me someone who will do it. Don't make me at Chris Crash to do it because he's blocked too. And like for crying out loud, like I was talking about Eric. Eric also got like DoorDash Thomas. He was also like, I guess, banned. And I read his thing about it. Yeah, I think Eric's getting too chummy. I think he thinks he's someone. But anyways, damn, this was a good stream. I love streaming. Monday I didn't love streaming. I won 3 games and then lost for 4 hours. I did not love streaming then. But now I do. I must have just been a funk I was in on Monday. But anyways, I'm gonna give Twitter. I know there's 20 of you. Someone ball up, ball up, Twitter. I know you're there. Well, it says I got 21, so I'm assuming that's the same. But ball up. Where are you boys? Okay, screw it. Just if you follow me, do it. Do it for me. But anyways, excuse me. With that, I think we're done. I can't believe I got 3 segments done. Sweet. In 3 hours and 20 minutes. Whoops. Well, anyways, but yeah, that's it. We talked about the death penalty. We talked about the TLM and how they're kind of scary cowards. And then we talked about the gay, the gay. Sorry, gay. You got to put quotes into that. Gay Catholic apologetic guys. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. If you could help me out and do the follow, sub, the typical YouTuber stuff. Tomorrow I will be playing Shadow of Mordor, starting at 9 p.m. Central. Please queue in for that. Lord of the Rings is always fun. And then next week, I have no idea what Monday and Wednesday. One of those days will be if I can get Eric and Pine Sap on one channel or just Pine Sap. And then yeah, assuming that their schedules align enough that I can do it. Thursday I'll be playing. Well, I guess I could swap that too. Okay. Well, okay. Let me put it this way. Next week, sorry. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'll be streaming 9 p.m. Central. Every other week after that is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Central. So it's just I can't do Friday. Tuesday, I don't have RCA, so I was going to stream, but then I'm doing something Friday, so it kind of like one event just changed. But I'm gonna do a statewide to figure out abortion. That's political, so that more than likely will be Thursday. We'll see about the Pine Sap going after Eric or just Pine Sap. It will depend. We'll see what Twitter does. I'll game. I have no idea, and then I'll game at least Shadow of Mordor, and then I'll game one actual time at the very minimum. So we got a game, and if anyone wants to tell me like 1 week, you should do Rivals, you should do Destiny, you should do Magic, just write that in the chat or something, or yeah, help like send me to play that instead. I'm more than willing to do that. I gotta change the thumbnails and stuff like that. So like you gotta get to me early. So follow me on Twitter because that's where I am more. But yeah, that'll be it. So and if you follow me on YouTube, you'll find the schedule. I should have this all hopefully by Monday. So yeah, but anyways, I will see you all in another video. Thank you for being queuing on. It's 12 over here, so it's late. But I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank you for that. Thank you for any of the subs and other things have happened. Twitter, still no answer. Come on, whoever is like, I'll let someone else do it. Do it. Fall on that sword. Come on, do it. Do it. Do it. But yeah, anyways, have a good night, y'all. I am going to take a pee because I actually need to go, but I got to write a tweet first, which just means it's going to be a greatest tweet written. And yeah, so with that, have a good night, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Central.